pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Fire evacuation doors right behind you, right out here, and also out through these doors on the left. Go down the stairs and go out the other set of doors, and please, if there's any kind of emergency, go far away from the building as possible. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Louis Fiore.
Here.
Virginia Higley.
Should be coming late. Yep.
Linda DeGray.
Here.
John Petronella is here. Francis Alimo.
Here.
Kiran Majmudar.
Here.
Kenneth Helinski.
Here.
Vinnie Gorillo is absent. And Christian D'Antonio.
Here.
And Nicholas Lefakis.
Here.
Thank you. With Commissioner Higley's absence, it is Chris D'Antonio. Commissioner D'Antonio's turn to sit in until she makes it here. So, Chris, you're a full-time member until that time. Thank you. Make a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion made by Chairman, Vice Chairman DeGray. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Helinski to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion, any changes or additions to the minutes of Thursday, October 27th, the regular meeting?
No.
Seeing none, all those in favor, Commissioner Majmudar?
Page number 2. Third paragraph from the bottom.
Cronio,
Lefakis votes not because of previously cited reasons. Is that about accurate, Nick?
Near the bottom? Near the bottom?
Yeah.
It said Commissioner Lefakis noted that he felt qualified to vote because he viewed the meetings he missed on YouTube. Yes.
No, the part that was Commissioner Lefakis votes not because of previously cited reasons. Is that accurate?
Oh, yes. That was referring to reasons that other commissioners had cited.
Thank you, I'm done.
okay, so seeing there's no amendments or adjustments to the minutes, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The records show that it was unanimous with 7 votes with Commissioner Alimo abstaining. Commissioner Higley is not here. Town Attorney's Report. Everyone had a chance to see the Town Attorney's Report? And I am going to mention, Commissioner Petronella, that yes, they did hear your comments from the last meeting. As you can see, there was a little bit more verbiage from the staff this time. So as you notice, there was a little bit more information on that report. So I hope everyone was pleased with that.
And I'd like to say I appreciate that. That was good information and very helpful, I thought.
Okay. Thank you. We'll make sure Matt and I and Lori pass that on. Thank you very much. Now, before we move on to public participation, I'd like to make a couple recommendations for changes to the agenda tonight. We need to add to other business item C, which would be to officially accept, add to item C, the discussion of the December 22nd meeting. Is there a motion made to add an item C to other business? Discussion of next week's meeting. Motion made by Commissioner Higley, Commissioner DeGray, sorry. Seconded by Commissioner Majmudar. Any discussion adding that to the agenda tonight? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The record shows unanimous to add other business item C, which is a discussion about next week's meeting. We also need to add another item to the agenda tonight. There's another bond release that needs to be added, so I recommend a motion be made to add SPR 1829 bond release to the bond release section.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Chairman DeGray. Is there a second by Commissioner Alimo? All those in favor of adding SPR 1829 to bond releases signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The record show it was unanimous for that. Also, I'd like to do public before we do bond release, I'd like to recommend that we move up item 8, presentation by CROG traffic impact study, to be ahead of item 7 on tonight's agenda. Is there a motion made? Motion made by Vice Chairman DeGray, seconded by Secretary Petronella to move item 8 ahead of item 7. All those in favor?
Aye.
Saying aye. Thank you. Let us show it was unanimous. That also changed to our agenda. Now we'll just go into the public participation. At this point in the meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments, concerns, and opinions related to planning and zoning in Enfield from anyone who is present, provided that no one may discuss any matter of business at this time that is already elsewhere on the agenda, any matter that is part of an open public hearing in front of the commission, or any matter where a decision of the commission may be pending, which also includes any pending legal activity. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the commission at this time? Is there anyone who would like to speak to the commission at this time? Is there anyone who would like to speak to the commission at this time? Seeing none, after 3 times asked, we'll see public participation is closed. So now we will move on to the presentation by the CROG Traffic Impact Study, the Enfield Square Mall area.
Hey.
And you guys could pull up another chair if you need 3 chairs. Yeah, please, feel free. And if you want to make sure the mic is on, usually the red button. Yeah, and you pull. If you pull that as close as you can to. Almost. Yeah, one for Ginny.
Okay, so we will get started this evening. Thank you for having us. I see some familiar faces from last night's public information meeting. I am Rebecca Hall. I'm the traffic engineering consultant for CROG. I'm a professional engineer in the state of Connecticut. I'm also a PTOE, which is a professional traffic operations engineer, as well as an RSP, which is a road safety professional. So joining me here today, we have Caitlin Palmer, who's the project manager with CROG, as well as Chris Henchy, who is a transportation planner with CROG supporting the study. Also on the line, you did see Jim. Jim represents Namdar, who is the current owner of the Enfield Mall property. So he is joining us tonight as well. So previously, I'll go through this agenda, but previously you had a presentation back in early summer from Caitlin Palmer from CROG. She discussed the study area, went over the existing conditions. Some of you may have participated in the visual preference survey as well. We did have over 1,200 respondents, both in English and Spanish. And then she also presented the results of the market assessment and mall redevelopment trend study. So here today, we're going to give you a highlight of what the study area is, just to refresh your memory, as well as get into the different access management options. And that's really the decision point that we're looking for from you tonight. And then just to give you what the next steps are for the study and when you can expect to see us again. So again, I did introduce this. This is just a slide that explains the consultant team. It explains how we are working with both Lori and Nelson from the town of Enfield. So the study area does focus around the Enfield Mall property. However, it does expand to Palomba on Hazard Ave. It goes all the way to where the 91 ramps are, but it does not include the ramps themselves. On Elm Street, we do include the 91 ramps southbound and northbound, and it extends to Palomba. It includes intersections on Palomba as well as on Freshwater Boulevard. So in total, there are 15 intersections that are included, 14 are signalized, 1 is unsignalized. So what we are here to discuss today is the access management. So when Caitlin came and spoke with you, she talked about how the market study provided a max build-out scenario where that included 150 townhomes, 690 apartments, 150,000 square feet of retail, 2 quality restaurants, and as well as entertainment space and medical office space. So what this access management is going to do is going to look at how people will enter and exit the site in the future. That's the key here. So we are looking for the future, for the max build out, not making any changes to how the mall is currently operating. So access management being where the driveways are going to be located and what type of driveways are they going to be? Will they be full access driveways, allowing participants to turn left and right, both into and out of the driveway? Will there have some type of restricted access where you can only turn right in or right out? As well as how we can better manage traffic flow as well as safety with that access management. So that's what the goal of access management for this corridor is to address safety concerns that are out there as well as some of the congestion. So what we developed is we developed the existing conditions map or plan that you see on your screen, as well as 4 alternatives. Those 4 alternatives were presented to the public last night. They were able to vote on them by placing blue dots onto the different boards. And then after the meeting, we regrouped as a team this morning, and we developed actually a 5th alternative that we will present to you based on some of the feedback that we received at the meeting, just as well as some of the discussions that we had amongst our group that we felt was worthwhile presenting. So what you see on the screen is the existing conditions plan. This illustrates that there are 4 existing full vehicular access points. I do want to point out that on the westernmost driveway on Elm Street, we do show it as full access. I am aware that you are not permitted to take a left turn into the driveway there. However, based on our traffic volumes, based on what we heard last night and what we saw during our site visit, people do take that left turn since there's no physical barrier prohibiting them from doing so. So we do include it as a full vehicular access. So there's the western and eastern driveway on Elm Street, the full access driveway on Freshwater Boulevard, as well as the one on Hazard Avenue. So that's what you have right now. So the first option we presented last night maintained the Hazard Avenue, Freshwater Boulevard, and Eastern Elm Street driveway. What it changed was that Western Elm Street driveway. So we are looking at closing that Eastern driveway. And the reason why that was selected as the closure option is due to the proximity to the 91 off-ramp and due to the proximity of those signals that are for the eastern driveway, the western driveway, as well as the 91 ramps, looking at how we can possibly eliminate a signal, close that driveway, and improve the flow off the ramp and onto Elm Street itself. With the closure of that driveway, as with all of these changes you will see, there's going to be impacts to the development across the street from all of those driveways. So the development to the north there would then also be restricted to a partial access. So it wouldn't just impact the mall, it's also going to have other impacts throughout the corridor. I'll go through what the tallies were at the end after I present to you all of the options. So option B is similar to option A. However, instead of eliminating that western driveway, we are proposing to make that a partial access. So like a right-in, right-out driveway. The other 3 driveways stay full access. Moving on to option C, we maintain that partial access on that western driveway on Elm Street, and we look at having a partial access reduction on Freshwater Boulevard. So that would be extending that median and having it right in, right out only. Option D, this is where we begin to introduce a new driveway. So this option D, what we're doing is for the western driveway, we are closing that driveway, but adding a new access point on Freshwater Boulevard. This access point on Freshwater Boulevard doesn't necessarily have to be where you see that northern yellow dot, but we selected that location to show you because that's where the existing jewelry store driveway is today. So that's why it's shown there, but that's not necessarily where it needs to be. It's just more of a representation as to what's existing there. And so this is option E. So this is the option that was not presented last night, but based on feedback, what we did is we combined some of the other options. So we show a partial vehicular access for the western Elm Street, and then we do include that new Freshwater Boulevard access. And that's in speaking with the public and speaking with our team, as well as speaking with Namdar, who is the owner of the property, they expressed the desire not to decrease access, but to, increase, but also look at that access management. So how we can still improve safety, still improve flow by eliminating a traffic signal and just having a free flow right into the development as well as a right out. So this is a balance. It brings in some good improved access on Freshwater Boulevard for the developer, but it also looks at, reducing some of the congestion and eliminating the signal potentially on Elm Street. So these are the 5 access options that we prepared as part of this. The plan moving forward with the study is to take your recommended 2 preferred access alternatives plus the existing conditions, so you don't need to vote on the existing conditions being preferred over the other 2. We are looking for you to select your 2 preferred alternatives that we do move forward into analysis. We'll take the maximum build-out trip generations using the ITE trip generation operation manual will apply that traffic to this existing network, and we will see how these modified access alternatives can handle it with mitigation that is applied. If when we are analyzing the traffic using our Synchro software, the capacity analysis software, we find that one of the options that was selected cannot handle the traffic no matter what we do in terms of manageable mitigation. We do want to give you two options that are viable access alternatives, so we will go back and tweak the different access alternatives. So when we do come back to you with the final report, it may not be exactly what you selected, but we'll be able to explain why what we selected didn't work and what we changed for access alternatives in order to approve. So we are looking for the starting point for those access alternatives. And that will provide the developer with a guidance document when they move forward. So they'll know, what the town supports and what the town would like to see.
Question for you, if I can. Are you looking, you're not looking tonight for us to give you the tour, are you?
No.
So we can table this and
You
discuss
can-
this among
yes.
ourselves for a while. Okay, just
Yep.
wanted to make sure we understood that.
Yes. Yep. And so we can go back through the options because I know I presented them very quickly. And so I will touch on what the public thought about each of the options as well as what their votes were. So I'll start with existing conditions. So we did allow the public to vote on existing conditions because we do believe that it is important to understand if they don't want to see any changes with how the mall currently operates. So the existing conditions option had 9 votes. Everyone received 2 votes. Sorry, I should have explained that. Everyone received 2 blue dots to vote. So just like you will select 2, they were able to select 2. So 9 selected the existing conditions. 17 selected option A, which is the closure of that western driveway. 10 selected option B, which is just the partial access for that western driveway on Elm Street. 2 selected option C, and 4 selected option D. So you can see there was overwhelming support for that first closure of the driveway. And then, as I mentioned, the public did not have the opportunity to comment on option E, but based on talking with people who like the access right off 91 in order to enter the mall, they believe it gets the traffic off the roadway sooner, into their destination sooner. That's why we introduced that option. And then in order to provide the owner of the property with an alternative access point, since we are reducing an access point, we included the Freshwater Boulevard option. So that's the reasoning behind including option E. And we will leave the boards here with you to keep. So the boards have the blue dots on them. Those blue dots represented what the public thought of the different options. So our next steps and our path forward. So when I introduced the meeting, I went through where we had been, and we're here right now looking for the Planning and Zoning Commission to select the 2 alternatives that we will move forward. Then we will go into, as I discussed, that future build conditions analysis. We'll see what mitigation would be required to 220, 190, and those 15 intersections in order to support the development. We'll complete a traffic impact study, and then we will present the findings, which we anticipate being in the fall of 2023. And in addition to coordinating with Lori and Nelson, as well as CROG, we're also coordinating with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. So at the completion of this traffic impact study, the findings will have their support as well. That completes my presentation, but
Thank you.
I'm here for questions.
Thank you. Well, it's good to see the 3 of you again. It was last night, and that went, first of all, it went very well. I think Chris and Nick were there also. So you guys did a really nice job. Thank you so much. Now, a couple things before I go around for questions, a couple things I just want to bring to everyone's attention, because I'm going to rehash again, just for the record so everyone understands. One of the things that is kind of part of this project, but not really part of this project, is the pedestrian and bike safety issues on 220. So if you could just quickly reiterate that for the record, I would appreciate that.
Oh,
'Cause I know that's kind of outside the scope, but it's not really. We want to bring it to your attention. Yep.
Yep. So as part of the traffic impact study, we did analyze the existing conditions. So we reviewed the crash data repository from Yukon for the last 4 years, 2017 through 2020. There were 471 total crashes. And I may get my numbers slightly off, but it is 7 pedestrian crashes 7 cyclist crashes and 2 pedestrian crashes. I can get that number definitely for you. But those crashes are largely concentrated on 220 itself. There are many pedestrian inconsistencies. So there are missing crosswalks. There are accessible ramps that are non-compliant, which means they either don't have the detectable warning panel, which is the strip with the bumps, or they are too steep. And then there are also pedestrian push buttons that are not accessible. So they're either way into the grass or the dirt, or they're behind fencing, and then sometimes they are just completely lacking from the intersection altogether. So we did notice that there are about 300 pedestrians during the peak hour that do travel along the peak hours that we studied that do travel along this corridor. So the desire is there. There are a large number of cyclists, and from what we witnessed, there are a wide range of ages of cyclists. There were many children that were out there riding their bicycles along the sidewalk, and those pedestrians, the numbers were largely concentrated on that western side of the 220 corridor. So it's the 291 intersections as well as that first driveway intersection. That's where we predominantly saw them.
So my question just on this, so we can kind of wrap it up, is that answers or recommendations for change, since CROG is our transportation representative with DOT, okay, right? And I kind of know how it works. Going back to another hat, Kenny and I kind of remember how this works. So is this the pedestrian changes that need to be done, improvements need to be done, are they going to be part of this study, or can we rip that out for a separate suggestion through you to DOT, since this is a state road, for those changes? I guess that's my question.
I would say that, do I need to use this? I would say that probably would be a separate study. I think it's outside the scope of this current one to get to actual, I think, specifics of like what would a cross-section be. I don't believe we're getting to that level of information with this one.
Okay.
And that would be, the next step.
So
that
should
you
we
want.
initiate that through you tonight, or should we initiate that through Lori and our town manager to you? I guess that's why I'm kind of asking for guidance.
Yeah, and I'll say also there's, I believe you can go this route, there's going to be a DOT solicitation for corridor studies coming up early 2023, I believe.
Okay.
I could confirm that for you, but I believe that's a viable option for you to go.
And my one last question before I turn over questions, just more information for my fellow commissioners. One of the things that was brought up last night, if you remember, is that we do have some development that's going to be occurring certainly on 220 and even on 190, but probably on 190 outside the area of where the study is, but clearly 190 is going to be affected too. But 220, so if you could just share your knowledge of how you're going to keep up with those traffic pattern increases as the study's ongoing.
Yep. So 220 and 190 are both state-owned and maintained corridors. So just like the planning and zoning approves any site plans and any development that occurs along the corridors, the next step is that they go to the state for their approval. And the state has an approval process where, based on the number of trips that are generated, they have to do different levels of traffic impact studies. And these traffic impact studies are shared with us as the consultant for providing the traffic volumes in this area. So the Department of Transportation, while they're working with us, they are reviewing and approving all of our traffic volumes. They're making us aware of any developments in the area. So when a new development comes, even if it's outside of the 190 corridor, like you stated, but maybe there's traffic that they are projecting to go through our study area intersections, we would include that. So we'd be looking at their traffic studies to inform our volumes. And we've been working with the Bureau of Policy and Planning for that.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much. I'm looking around here for questions. Commissioner DeGray. Oh, no.
Okay, I'm looking at your options, and having been to that mall area at the height of the mall when they were first built, both of them first built, the one on Elm Street and the one on 190, and the traffic flow in that. And I remember coming off of the exit on 220 and being able to just turn right into that mall area. And if things go the way that we would like them to go, I mean, we're trying to plan for the future, to have that right off of 91, because I've been on 91 sitting there praying to God I don't get hit because people are zipping by me and people are trying to get out just because the entrance and exit. Would you be, and I don't know, I'm like throwing crap on the wall and seeing what's going to stick. Have you ever gone to the Holyoke Mall up in Holyoke, Mass?
I've not been to that mall, but I have been to this mall when Macy's was fully open
Well,
and
the reason I'm
operational.
asking is because they had the issue of traffic buildup and the same type of entrance exit ramps coming off of 90 and going down into the mall. They actually designated lane to turn right only, and then when you got to a certain point, they actually built a traffic island so that, okay, I'm going to get in the right lane so I can just go right, but wait, I'm going to go left once I get to the light. I'm wondering if that's something that you guys have thought about. If you haven't gone up there, just Google Earth it and see what they did there, because it did help that traffic flow. And there's a heavier traffic flow there because not only is there a bigger mall, but the entranceway on both sides have strip malls, multiple strip malls. So it did help that flow. So I'm just wondering if that's some option that we could have if we did continue with the right into the mall area, that option.
So I think that's something we're definitely going to look at. We haven't looked at the specifics of exactly how that right would operate. So that we haven't, could there be a median continued put on Elm Street? Is there something like a channelized right like you're
Right.
talking about? We haven't gotten to that level, but I'll definitely check out Holyoke's if it worked for them.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah.
look at that because I've lived in the area all my life. So going up to Holyoke is not a big deal. But to see what they did up there for their traffic flow, it did help a lot. It also got cars off of the highway.
Yeah, and that's, we want to help do that, is not have you sitting on 91.
Yeah, I've sat on it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lamo? Yeah. No, nobody
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation. I mentioned last time when we had the presentation, the crash counts, I think, were during COVID. So we have to keep that in mind.
The crashes were 2017, 18, 19, and 20. So 20 was during COVID. So 17, 18, and 19 have very similar patterns with just over 100, whereas 2020 is just under 100. So we do recognize that there were different crash rates during.
Okay.
Yes.
The way it is now currently, when you're going westbound and that turn where people were saying you're not supposed to turn, but people do.
Yep.
Are you thinking about making something permanent there so it's recognizable, so you can't turn? Because that is a problem. I've seen some
That's-
accidents there too.
Our recommendation is where turns are restricted, that they're going to be restricted by more than just a sign.
Well, there's a sign that's
Yeah.
faded from the sun. It's been up there for 25 years. You can't even see it.
The struggle with when you start putting in physical restrictions just for that one movement is it's hard to design something that doesn't also preclude other movements. So it's
Okay.
a balance of which type of access we're going to select moving forward.
So you'll be looking at that.
I hope one of the options is we're going to be looking at
Yeah, at least
that.
look at it.
Yes.
The other thing I'm curious about is that high percentage of people that wanted that first example of totally closing that entrance. Did public safety come up entrance access at all when you guys were talking about that?
We did not discuss these options with public
No,
safety.
last night I'm
Oh,
talking
last
about.
night? That did not come up, no.
Because
Yeah.
I would not vote for closing that,
Yeah.
my opinion. I mean, that should stay open. Public safety-wise, that has to stay open, at least that right turn in.
Yep.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner LaFakis?
Yes, last night I was thinking the same thing Commissioner DeGray was talking about, that I was thinking about the access to the Holyoke Mall. And it happens that the distance between the highway and the mall entrance is roughly what we have here on Elm Street. So that might be a good solution. But I'm gonna throw something that seems contrary to everything. What about making where that left turn is not allowed? What about making that allowed?
And I think if we do look at an option that leaves A, and with that existing conditions, that'll be something we address, is making that
Safer.
a movement that's safer.
A couple of the residents that were at the meeting last night were actually promoting that, and there have been times when I'm passing through, and I'm thinking, it can be a safe turn. The entrance to the east of that allows a left turn, so I think it could be workable, and I think the point that Commissioner Alimo brought up too, you need emergency vehicle access to the area, so it's good to have those entrances open.
I will say that I did get that comment on the existing conditions board, so that was registered with that. It should be on there still, so it's noted for the record there as well.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else? Commissioner Petronella?
Yeah. With respect to option A, now, if you're going to close down that entrance, if the proposal is to close down that entrance, so you're still going to have a traffic light there at that intersection, because, you know, you've still got the traffic coming out of the Kohl's Shopping Center, correct? That you have to deal with?
So it would be an impact to that Kohl's Shopping Center as well. So it would potentially make that Kohl's Shopping Center have the same right-in, right-out condition. So if you put a median or some other type of channelization devices, it would make it so Kohl's couldn't go through.
Okay, so it would be right in, right out for that entry
We would
as
look at
well. Okay.
making the same impact to Kohl's.
All right.
So everybody will be coming through the other side for that particular
Yeah.
plaza. I'm sorry, just to make
The large benefit is the removal of the signal for the traffic flow.
91
Yep.
traffic.
And with respect to option D, the proposal is a new entry, and I think it's a right-in, right-out on Freshwater. And the location of that is, I guess, in the rear of the jewelry store?
It's where the existing jewelry store accesses now.
Okay, so would that line up to the entry or exit from the Home Depot shopping center, or by TGI Fridays is?
It doesn't, I'm not sure if it lines up, but there's a median that divides Freshwater Boulevard there.
It is not, it's meant to be right in, right out anyway,
Yeah,
so it wouldn't have to line
definitely.
up. Okay,
Yeah, it's just a little too close to the intersection for left turns.
all right. And also on option C, I guess the proposal there is right in, right out on Freshwater as well. Just trying to get my,
And just
Very
like the
straight
Kohl's
here.
Plaza had the impacts with the right in, right out, that the
Right.
same thing could be true for Costco. So that's why it is very important that we do the traffic analysis and make sure that any of these recommendations, while, you know, we might pick this one, we may find out that it doesn't work. So
Yep.
we want to make sure we have the
Okay.
traffic numbers behind us.
all right, okay, thank you.
And actually, real quick, I'll just go back to your comment I think you had on D. Yeah, the D. If you were curious about like a full access option up there, like Becca said, it's close to the intersection, but also notably, because this was brought up actually by Enfield staff as well, what would happen is, I mean, we don't know, we haven't run anything, but what we expect the impact would be is the queues northbound on Freshwater to turn left onto Elm, for example. That is a fairly long line of cars, so you'd want to push back a signalized intersection so that you could still fit that queue, which just puts you really close to the other existing intersection with the signal there in Freshwater.
Just something that Commissioner LaFecus said about making a left turn, making it a safe left turn on that western entrance. Have you spoken to the 3 established businesses that are at that west entrance? They've been there a really, really long time, and to remove access to them in any way would really harm them, I believe, especially if people are getting off the highway looking for a restaurant or they are going out to the highway and maybe not realizing. And then we just added a fourth restaurant, a very popular restaurant that I actually went to today. First time. But I mean, there's really well-established businesses that will be affected with these decisions. Have you spoken to these people?
So I think that question would have to be answered by Lori or Nelson. We've been working with Namdar, who's the owner of the larger mall properties themselves, but I think Lori or Nelson could ask you what other outreach the town has completed.
Okay, because that's a concern to me, because these 3 restaurants have been well-established in this town for a very long time, almost as long as the mall's been there, so.
I do believe they were made aware of the public information meeting last night, and I do not know
Okay.
if any
I'm
attended.
Just asking, because I am concerned about them.
And again, if I can just add on to this, again, this is a discussion that we can have with Lori and Nelson, because we are going to be tabling this
I
for future
understand,
discussion.
but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure our businesses are also included with this study. Thank you.
Understood, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Ooh, is that Lori?
So, we did our best to reach out to the different mall owners and kind of just tried to get them out to flyers out to the different businesses, but I don't know whether or not anybody responded.
Okay.
Or, I think there was, I think I heard there was over 150 people on the video last night, is that correct?
Yeah, well, when I checked this morning, I was looking and just kind of reviewing some of the footage in the comments, and it said there was 157 views on the YouTube video, which is excellent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
again-
so maybe they showed up and
Yep.
took note of it.
Or as we go forward this over the next month, we can ask Nelson just to try to contact with them again. Commissioner Majumdar?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, go ahead.
the traffic light at the end of the ramp, one side is Friendly's, the other side is Dunkin' Donuts, has been discussed considerably. Has there been any consideration of fully eliminating that traffic light altogether? Is that any one of the options include that?
So we're not looking at how these access points would operate right now. So we'll do that in the future, the next step in the build out and looking at mitigation and what's needed there. So we're not looking at how the traffic will be controlled right now.
The reason I ask the question is because obviously the more number of traffic lights within a short corridor of 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles, the more chances of traffic backups and issues. Mm-hmm. By not having the traffic light, you may be able to improve the vehicular, pedestrian, cyclist, all kinds of safeties. So that's one thing I would recommend you include as we go along. Second question, or last question, you asked for this commission's opinion selecting 2 alternates out of the 4 or 5. Is the rest of the traffic study of the corridor dependent on this selection at this point?
Yes. So how the traffic's routed will impact all of the other intersections.
So therefore, we need to make that call as early as possible. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
We had hoped you'd make it in January at some point.
Plan is for us to think about over the holidays and discuss this again and vote on it in January, yes.
Obviously, if I'm the mall owner on either side, I would of course be
Okay.
concerned as to what that decision is. But all right, that gives me some idea. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Nick, I'm going to defer to Matt first. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, thank you. So with the accident data, do we have some details of what kinds of accidents? For example, was somebody trying to make a left turn into Coles or a right turn into where Figaro's is? Do we have that kind of data so that maybe knowing which type of accident occurs more frequently, it might help us make a better selection.
So the two highest types of crashes along this corridor are rear ends, which is pretty typical with signalized intersections with congested corridors, and then angle type. And there's also a large number, or compared to what we would typically see, of side swipes same direction. So that's also attributed to a car trying to bypass someone who's turning.
Would it be possible for you, based on, because we did get that information back when you were here, but that set of slides, it has all the traffic. Would you be able to give that to Lori or Nelson so that we could have that?
Yeah.
Because again, they have very detailed slides with all the different types of accidents on it. That might be helpful for some of the commissioners.
Yep.
Yep. Chris?
Yeah, somewhat related to that. When you guys did the initial current conditions, did that included traffic count, like by direction? Because I'm wondering, how much the current traffic patterns, people coming into and out of the mall area, could dictate, our options here. Like obviously, that left turn we know is not allowed, so it's probably very infrequent. We know, right turns obviously would be most frequent. But yeah, the left turns out of the proposed yellow dots.
So we counted turning movement count. So whether you go left, through, or right at each of the intersections, the 15 intersections in May of 2021. So while school was still in session. And I know there are some concerns that there may have been COVID impacts, but those volumes were submitted to, again, the department's Policy and Planning Bureau, and they keep records and tracking of those types of statistics. So they adjusted them accordingly. So they feel comfortable, and we feel comfortable that they're representative of, pre-COVID impacts.
And I think that data was in the previous.
It was in the
ones.
presentation last night, so we can provide it to you. I do want to highlight that when we're talking about these access options for the mall parcel, what the mall parcel looks like now isn't necessarily what it could look like in the future. So when we're looking at these access options now, saying that maybe one driveway isn't as utilized as another, how NAMDAR or whomever ends up developing this property looks at it in the future, it could change, where the apartments could be located, where their retail is located. So it's not, I just want to make sure that you understand that it could change the look of how the mall operates.
It could change while we're in the middle of doing this. Who knows? Commissioner Limo?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to just ask about. Because when you started, you said this was looked at with a maximum build-out of that property.
Correct.
So none of us know, maybe you guys do, but we'd like to know what's going to happen there. So whatever happens there, this will work. Because we don't want to have...
That's a very good question.
Yeah, we don't want to have an application come before us and all of a sudden there's going to be a traffic problem because we have no idea what they're doing there.
So what this is this is a guideline for the owner of the current property to say, we completed a market analysis. This is what the market analysis said could be supported on the site. We then completed a traffic impact study with these different access options, and this is mitigation that's required to support that max build out. That doesn't mean that that's necessarily what the developer or the owner is going to move forward with. It's just some legwork already completed for them and knowledge that you'll have as a commission. So when they do come before you, you can say, well, we know this access option works for more cars than what you're proposing, so it should work for you. So it just provides you with a guidance document.
Okay.
And I'll just add to that too. To your point, the market study is saying this is what can be supported here, but that may or may not end up working out according to the traffic impact study. So you might end up having to say we'd have to scale development back in order to make our road network function.
I'm good. I say.
The last question I have, this last comment, one of the things that came up last night, I'm sure you caught it, was, and I know it's not part of the study, even though it's only like 50 yards away from it, is the west side after the underpass of 91 going down 220, where it funnels in from 2 lanes to 1. Is it possible for you guys, when you're looking at this again after our options, to take a look at that 50 yards, or are you going to stop right at the entrance and exits.
So right now, admittedly, the scope is very tight.
Yeah.
And I meant to actually touch base with my director to see if there's any way that we would maybe potentially be able to expand this study. And we haven't yet had a chance to talk to the town itself as well. And I don't know if the funding sources that we're currently dealing with for this project may or may not dictate what we can or cannot do as far as even adding on to the project. I know that's sometimes an issue, but I do plan to try to touch base with him tomorrow, if at all
Thank you.
possible.
And thank you for at least catching on to that. You're aware
Yes,
that's the
yeah.
the Lynch Terrace Sumner Ave where it merges is an issue, and it's a little bit
Yeah.
outside the scope by about 50 yards. but-
Admittedly, yeah, the neighborhood there on 220, and then even some conversation was had around the ramps at Hazard
Yeah.
Avenue, which are
Yeah.
also not included, so, yep.
Well, just to talk on what you're saying,
Yeah.
you know, because it comes down to a bottleneck there, and possibly by what we're doing here to improve flow, may in turn make that bottleneck even worse. So, you know, you may want to, you know, look at that, what the Chairman is saying.
Matt, you have something you wanted to add in?
I just had one quick question, and it's really, I hope it's for other people's benefit as well as mine. It's that, is it fair to say that if an intersection is provided at any particular location, that bike and pedestrian, I'll call them amenities, they're not amenities, but have to be factored into the design, they have to be accommodated, they have to be part of the design for that intersection? Is that a fair statement, or are there any circumstances where you could preclude, or you would preclude, or want to preclude pedestrian bike access? Because I think we have to keep in mind that, in a sense, you may be kind of not just accommodating but encouraging pedestrian bike activity at a particular location with one of these different scenarios in a design. So just your thoughts, quick.
So for these specific locations, I would recommend that both bicycles and pedestrians are accommodated at all of the intersections. They use these intersections now. They are our most vulnerable users. So we do want to make sure they are protected as much as possible. And then with to go a little bit further, back to what the chairman was referencing, you do have the Thompsonville development. So the hope is that's a full connection down to this mall area from the train station across Route 5 down 220 and into this mall area. So I think accommodating bikes and peds here is definitely a priority.
So even if the more westerly access on 220, and this is just a question, were to be eliminated completely, not even right in, right out, and there's a median or whatever is done, that design would still accommodate pedestrian and bike design.
Yeah, that's a good point. So our recommendation is that these are only for vehicular access points that we're talking about, that we would want to make the site as friendly as possible and as accessible as possible for pedestrians and cyclists.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. That's all.
Commissioner Petronella?
One other comment with respect to the right-in, right-out turns that you're proposing now. I guess it's the easternmost entry to the mall does not have a designated right-in lane. Okay, it's two lanes there, I believe, and a lot of traffic. Sometimes it seems to want to turn right. If there was a designated lane to turn right, it would relieve a lot of traffic that's going through, as is the entrance to Freshwater, just up above it. In fact, that lane could probably be expanded in length as well. Also, when you're going down Freshwater, the entrance that turns into the mall, same thing. If that lane had a designated an extra lane for a designated right turn in, it would relieve a lot of traffic and congestion. It also, on the other side of the road, will work well for the entrance for Costco and Home Depot entrances too. So a designated lane to get that through traffic, a little bit relief, because there's always a lot of traffic that wants to turn into the mall or into Home Depot, Costco, or the mall. And it seems to get backed up and stacked up, especially this time of the year, I noticed. And I don't know if any of that's into the equation. And I know to widen a road, you're going to need, do you have the property or do you need the easements and so forth? But that, I think, would help relieve a lot of congestion as well. Thank you.
So I'll start it really quick, and then I think I'll hand it over to Chris. So as part of the mitigation options that we're looking at, it's anywhere from traffic signal optimization to where we can add turn lanes. Are there any turn lanes that are potentially too long where we can shorten them and take that right away back? Do you need an additional through lane? So we are going to be looking at the cross-section allocation as part of the build mitigation and what's needed to support the development.
And I will also mention that at the meeting last night, I did get a comment on this from a resident who said that, especially going north on Freshwater, you got a lot of people turning right into Costco and Home Depot and the other developments there. And he said that usually will back up traffic. And so then why can't you just have like right turn only lanes for accessing those locations instead? So we're going to take that under advisement, and that could be part of the mitigation strategy. No problem.
And just to layer on that, because why not? I don't think we won't get into this level probably, but the balancing act between when you expand that right of way and you provide another lane of traffic, also still being considerate of your bicyclists and pedestrians that now have a longer place to cross and have a greater opportunity for conflict as they cross the roadway. So,
Good point.
we'll see.
All set, John? Commissioner Limo?
Just to follow up on the pedestrian question. So by what I'm hearing, the pedestrian access, bicycle, walking under the underpass, you're saying will be brought up to full compliance?
That is a tricky location, that underpass. So I think for now, that is a larger project because it is a structure that does carry 91 over 220. So I can't exactly say what our recommendations will be, but there are treatment options that don't involve replacement that won't bring it up to a multi-use trail, but that will make it feel a little bit safer for the pedestrians that do utilize it.
Mm-hmm. Better than it is now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are we all set for tonight's presentation? Well, I want to thank you very much. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask the commission to table this so we keep it on our agenda. So we'll think about it over. We'll talk with Lori and Nelson. I'm sure they'll contact you. You'll be hearing back from us in a few weeks, right after the holidays. So, seeing there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead, Lori.
Tim Coleman from NAMDAR is here, and I think he might want to have a comment with you.
Okay, all right.
Don't mind.
Mr. Chairman, and to the commissioners, we are just delighted to work with the team, Nelson, as well as Lauren and everyone else. We are excited about the potential of our site. We are one of many stakeholders, and we want to do everything to work together to create a safe, highly densible, walkable community that's going to be able to provide a lot of new tax revenue and great jobs, and that it becomes a regional attraction for the community. So we're on board. We want to do everything possible. We do appreciate the feedback that you've shared tonight. We do want to make sure that we have as much access, but we also want to make sure that it is a safe community. So thank you so much for all of your support, and thanks to all of our team members for putting together all of these great options and all of the directions that we've provided and proposals tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your comments. So seeing that, I will entertain a motion to table item the CROG Traffic Impact Study, Enfield Square Mall area.
So moved.
Motion made by Vice Chairman DeGray. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Helinski to table this item. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it was unanimous to table this item. We'll get back to you in about a month. Thank you. Thank you, and have a good holiday season. Thank you for spending the 2 nights with us here. Next on the agenda, Mr. Secretary, I don't know if you want to read it, I will be PH 2988-2, releasing the bond on Mobile Mini 135 Freshwood Boulevard, bond release request. You want to read the motion to approve? You want me to? I could do it. Yep. Yep, I'll read it. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the release of the landscape bond in the amount of $70,284 for project PH 2988-02, located at 135 Freshwater Boulevard, Enfield, Connecticut. Hart Zito Investments, LLC, Sean DeBella. Motion made by Chairman Fiore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Commissioner Helinski. Is there any discussion or any comments? We do have Rick's comments. I don't know if Matt, Is there any questions on releasing this bond? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll.
Louis Fiore,
Yes, release the bond.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Virginia Higley, I'm sorry, she's absent. Francis Alimo.
4.
Kiran Majmudar.
4.
Ken Helinski.
4.
John Petronella is 4. And who's the
Chris.
alternate? Chris D'Antonio.
4.
Let the record show it was unanimous, 7-0 to release this particular bond. Now we'll move on to SPR 1829 and SPR 182902. I'll give you, you're good. It's up to you, John. Yep, good.
And this is for, I'm sorry.
Burlington Coat Factory. That's the one we got tonight.
Okay, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission hereby approves the release of the landscaping bond in the amount of $14,250 submitted under SPR 1829 and SPR 1829.02 Burlington Coat Factory located at 10 Hazard Avenue, Enfield, Connecticut. George Papadopoulos, NYM Group of Connecticut.
Motion made by Secretary Petronella. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chairman DeGray. Is there any discussion? Seeing this was added to the agenda tonight. This is something, because we're getting later on, we wanted to get this out of the way tonight. Rick has basically said he thought it was all fine to release this particular bond, get it out of the way. Is there any questions on this? Seeing none, will the Secretary call the roll?
Louis Fiore,
4.
Linda DeGray,
4.
Francis Alimo,
4.
Kiran Majmudar,
4.
Ken Helinski,
4.
John Petronella is 4, and Christian D'Antonio.
4.
The record shows unanimous to release this bond. All right, now we're on to our first site plan review, SPR 1908, 210 Moody Road, whenever the...
Yep. SPR number 1908, 210 Moody Road, application for the addition to a 13,900 square foot addition onto an existing facility. Top Knot LLC, applicant, owner, map 100, lot 11, I-1 zone.
Thank you. Is the applicant or representatives here? Hi, how are you? Is the red button on? Try again.
Hello?
Yeah. You just identify yourself for the record, please.
Yeah, my name is Ben Hildebrand. I work with Sage Engineering. We have an office in Westfield, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Top Knot LLC. In general, we're proposing to construct a 14,000 square foot addition onto the existing 28,000 square foot facility located at 210 Moody Road. The subject parcel is approximately 21 acres and is zoned Industrial 1. This expansion project was shown on approved site development plans submitted in 2007 and depicted as a future addition. It'll be a pre-engineered metal building, and architecturally, it will match the existing facility. There are no proposed changes to the hours of operation or the number of employees. However, we have added 5 additional parking spaces to meet zoning requirements. There will be minor upgrades to the stormwater management system, which has been designed to meet state of Connecticut stormwater quality standards. We have addressed minor comments from the Conservation Commission, and we look forward to working with the town of Enfield to ensure that construction is in compliance with all town ordinances. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Looking around here, I just have a couple questions for you. Just very quickly, the addition, I take it, is what I would call the yellow or beige piece on your, yeah.
This is the existing
Yep.
facility right here, and this will be the addition.
And if I may, Matt, I'm just going to go to you, Ben, have some highlighted notes here. The conditions that we have here that was presented to us, does that include the buffer area, possible exemption?
The way that I did this was I set it up with 2 motions. One would be to approve a conditional modification to the required 50-foot buffer.
Yep.
And then that would be, I mean, it's inherent in the plan. It
Yep.
would be part of the approval and documented as such. And then there's the main motion for the actual approval of the.
And does the motion also include the barn?
The barn, I spoke to Rick, the CEO, who's much more familiar with this than me. The barn's not part of the application. The barn currently is probably just used for kind of accessory storage for some other purpose. It really isn't part of the scope of this. So at some point in the future, if they ever want to use the barn in association with this actual, development, then we can deal with that at that point. But the structure, it's basically a lawful, non-conforming structure in terms of its footprint and where it sits as far as the buffer and the setbacks and all these kinds of things, so.
So they couldn't remove the barn without our approval?
The barn, well, that's a different question. The barn is, they would have to apply for a demo permit to the building official. I don't know that the barn has any particular historic status officially at all. It's a nice structure for sure. I mean, I like to look at it.
Yeah.
But that would be a different,
Okay.
different question.
Okay. Thank you. I'm looking here for questions or comments from anyone?
You asked the questions I had.
Okay. So should we also include the 3 IAW conditions in this, or do you think that'd be just repetitious?
No, I wouldn't. I think the IW stands alone. The
Okay.
statute requires that the Planning and Zoning Commission basically see
Yep.
and consider the Wetland Board's action and decision.
Okay. So basically, the one thing we have in front of us, just to start the ball rolling here, is that do we want to waive the conditional modification to required 50-foot buffer in this particular application because of the way it's logistically set up on Taylor and Moody? So that's a discussion we can have with the applicant and ourselves, so.
Just want to show you real quick that,
Yep. Thank you.
This is the existing conditions.
And that's the barn up there in the top, yep.
This is the barn.
Yep.
And this is the area that we're talking about as far as the buffer goes. So there's already a lot of natural vegetation there.
Yep.
So right now, I don't think it's really an issue as far as this application goes. So it'd be something we could address in the future if need be.
Okay. Commissioner D'Antonio?
Yeah, I didn't see any comments by the Conservation Commission, so I'll just ask if you can just clarify what you addressed.
Yeah, absolutely. So they asked us to extend the silt fences a little bit and also put aside a place for loam stockpiling. Is there any?
And snow storage.
Oh, and snow storage, which we added to the plans.
Oh, that was IWW.
Yes.
Yeah, not conservation, that was inland wetlands. Those are conditions in inland wetlands.
Yeah, I was going to ask, was there any plans to? Because I noticed in the current conditions, you guys have plantings on the side of the existing warehouse, which will go away since that's where the construction is. Is there any? I mean, I know you'll have the tree line still on the. Like right up against the new construction.
It's not shown on this rendering right here, but we are calling out for some landscaping right here. This will be an overhead door, so we'll need access right here. But the rest of the front of the building will all be landscaped.
Okay. And the landscaping that was coming down, there was no plans to salvage or
I'm sure we'll try to
relocate?
salvage what we can.
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I mean, you have it.
Right,
I mean, your parking area.
Yep.
I think, like, obviously you get the nice wooded area right next to it, but I mean, parking area perhaps. But
Oh, no, I think it's a good suggestion.
Mr. Chair, yeah, just a question on the motion to approve a conditional modification. That is to leave what's existing on Taylor Road or on the barn area, the vegetation and barn and so forth, and basically we're looking to waive the buffer requirement. Is that correct, Matt?
Yeah, I didn't want to parse it as a complete waiver, so that's why I put kind of a conditional waiver, so to speak. So it's
Specific
kind of
to this
a partial
application.
waiver.
And
Right.
yeah.
You're approving it, but with some specific
Right.
limitations, so that it's clear in the record that if there's a subsequent application to the east, maybe they start to, hopefully they do
Yeah.
great and they want to expand
Right.
in the other way, then we can deal with that in the future.
Yeah, and I support that, that conditional modification. I seem to have no issue with
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I do want to bring up a couple things if I can, just to enlighten everyone. And again, for the record, is I asked that question, actually, it was right in front of me. If I should have read my own highlights, Matt, I apologize. On the site-specific conditions, number 10, existing vegetation in the buffer B area along Taylor Road shall be retained. Item 11, this approval explicitly excludes use of the existing non-conforming barn. So I think takes care of that with site condition 11. And site condition 12, lot division from this parcel when or if proposed will require approval of a subdivision. So I'm asked that question earlier of you, Matt, and it was right in front of me. I apologize. Commissioner DeGray.
Just a question to Matt. If it's already, these conditions are site-specific conditions in the motion to approve, why would we need to do a separate approval for those conditions?
For the buffer?
For the buffer. I guess I'm a little confused.
Well, the buffer is, the required buffer is a 50-foot buffer. There are specific landscape requirements. There's actually a detail.
Yeah, I understand.
And all that kind of thing.
But
So they're
can we
not.
just make that a additional condition in the approval as opposed to a separate?
I suppose procedurally, you could probably do it either way. I just thought it was more obvious to pull it out as a particular item to make it clear to people that in the future, that this approval, the scope of this is what it is in terms of that particular
All right.
part.
And I'm
But
just
you could
trying-
do it either way if
No,
you
I'm
want
just trying to understand why you did it that way. That's all.
Yep.
Okay,
Well,
thank
see, just not to belabor the point, but as staff people, it helps us tremendously when approvals are as explicit and particular and specific as they can be, because that helps us avoid, and it helps property owners and developers avoid getting into these situations about having to interpret what it meant. Can I cut that tree down? Can I take the barn down?
Okay,
Can I
no.
do these kinds of things? And
No.
so this way here, it helps us in the future. I may not be here, but this will sit in a file.
All right,
It'll be on the
no.
land records, and somebody will be able to look at it and understand, yeah, that's what they meant when they did this. Whereas if we just approved the plan, it's maybe up for a little bit of debate as to what the parameters are, I guess.
All right, no, thank you for clarifying that
Sure,
and
certainly.
making it clear for both the applicant and me. Thanks.
Any other questions on this application?
No.
Commissioner Majmudar?
Yeah, this is a question for the applicant, and may not be completely planning and zoning question. I see a concrete apron that's part of the proposed attached to the new building. Would you require any kind of access from outside the existing building to it, or it's for some other purpose?
I'm not entirely sure.
Just to get equipment in and out of the building.
Yeah, so it's just to have access in and out of that door is all the idea is.
So there's no driveway proposed to get to the back of it?
No, exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Everybody all set? Seeing none, seeing there's no discussion, the secretary will care to do here?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, with respect to the application, I'd like to make a motion on the waiver. So I'd like to make a motion to approve a conditional modification to the required 50-foot buffer be along Taylor Road per section 10.20C, subject to the following. 4 items listed by staff.
Is there a second on that?
So, second.
So motion made. I believe, Mr. Secretary, we probably should make the motion to approve the application first and then go do this motion. And then, so would you please rescind your motion?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I make a motion to rescind my
So let's make a motion to approve the general application first.
And we'll make a motion to approve the application, SPR 1908, application for a site plan permit to construct a 13,900 square foot addition with associated site improvements at 210 Moody Road, Top Knot LLC, owner applicant, Furrow Engineering applicant representative, map 100, lot 11, I-1 zone, per the referenced plans, reports, and application materials listed herein with the following modifications and 27 conditions listed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Petronella, seconded by Commissioner DeGray. That motion is on the table. Now we need to decide about the buffer first before we can vote on to approve. So there's an amendment to this. The amendment would be go to the other motion.
Motion to approve a conditional modification to the required 50-foot buffer be along Taylor Road per section 10.20C, subject to the following 4 conditions listed.
Thank you. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Majumdar. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, roll call vote on the amendment, the motion to approve a conditional modification.
Louis Fiore.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Virginia Higley, absent. Francis Alamo.
4.
Kiran Majmudar.
4.
Kenneth Alinsky.
4.
Christian D'Antonio.
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
Seeing that the amendment, the modification amendment has passed unanimously 7-0, there's also another motion that was made and seconded, the approval on the main motion to approve this application. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, whenever you're ready for a roll call.
Louis Fiore.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Francis Alamo.
4.
Kiran Majmudar.
4.
Kenneth Alinsky.
4.
Christian D'Antonio.
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
Seeing it was a unanimous vote, 7-0 to approve the application with the modification. So good luck, gentlemen, and it's your addition, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Happy
Thank you very much.
holiday season.
Thank you.
Sorry, John. My Robert Rules of Order kicked in as soon as we started. I apologize.
All right. Where's this going?
Then I'll let you catch up there for a second, and then we'll move on to the next. Whenever you're ready. Now we'll
Okay.
move on to SPR 1902.
SPR number 1902, 90 Alden Avenue, application for 20-unit apartment building, Bellsite Development LLC, applicant owner, map 28, lot 17, TD5 zone.
Thank you. Is the applicant or representative here? Yep. Steve,
yep.
Yep. Take your time.
Thank
Please
you.
make sure the mic is on. Identify yourself for the record, please.
My name is Bill Bellock. I'm the principal member of Bellsite Development, who is the owner of 90 Alden Avenue and is also the applicant in front of you tonight. I have an attorney, Mike Bonanno, who's been in front of you guys before. He couldn't make it tonight, so he apologized in advance. I can't make it next week. He can't make it this week, so I'm here. I also, before I start, and I apologize for this, I have a set of plans that I know you all have that have been submitted, but rather than have it flipping in order, I'm not sure I stapled them in the right order again. So briefly, to make it easy, I have site plan, elevation, landscaping, but that's just so you don't have to flip all over the place. Anyhow, to start, I'll give you a very brief history of the site. In 2016, this commission approved the conversion of the former St. Adalbert's parochial school into 21-bedroom apartments, single-story apartments. The gymnasium at the time wasn't part of that application. That was considered, we separated the building with a fire-rated wall. It was considered a separate structure. In 2020, as part of the Higgins Park redevelopment, I entered into an option agreement with the town of Enfield for them to purchase the gymnasium structure and a portion of the land. It was a 2-year option. As part of that effort, I got a ZBA variance to allow for a 0 lot line. So that was for 2020, 2021. Earlier this year, the town decided not to purchase the building. So that's why I wanted to be, I like the gym, but that's not going to happen. So that's where I'm here for this application. The application in front of you is for the demolition of the gymnasium and the construction of a 2-story apartment building with 21 bedroom units on the existing gym footprint and the creation of a new 10-space parking lot which would service the new apartment building, which combined with the existing parking and a previously approved parking lot in front of the 90 Alden building will give us the 41 required parking spaces that we need. In effect, what we're doing is we're undoing the 2016 plan, which created 2 buildings, and reattaching them. Multifamily is a permitted use in the MTD5 zone, and is noted by the town planner the application meets or exceeds all the required bulk and area requirements. The site and building is serviced with public sewer and public water by Connecticut Water. Public sewer, it's an existing 8-inch cast iron main that service the gym, locker rooms, and so that hasn't changed. Going to the site plan, which for me is my first sheet, you see that the new construction is on the existing footprint of the gym with the addition of some very small first floor patios and second floor decks. The new parking lot will be to the west of the gym, which is farthest away from Town Hall, and somewhat behind the existing garage on site. The new parking will be connected to the existing parking and access ways and use the existing curb cut on Alden Avenue. There is no new curb cut on Alden Avenue, so we're using the existing exit. Currently, the roof leaders on the gym, which is going to be down, but we're going to still use them for the new building, are connected to an existing manhole just outside the existing parking lot. From there, the stormwater on the roof goes from this existing manhole to an existing old 4-inch tile pipe that goes behind the garage, between the closed convent and the church, ultimately into Alden Avenue. The intent of the plan is to replace that manhole with a new manhole, take both the roof leaders from the new building, both the north and south side, connect it to the manhole. From the manhole, take it to a catch basin servicing just the parking lot. And then under the parking lot, we'll have 2 underground stormwater storage tanks. From the storage tanks, we're going to replace the clay pipe, which it's functioning, but it's been there for 60 years. So we're going to replace with a new 10-inch plastic pipe. Which will take care of the existing the new parking lot as well as the roof leaders. The town engineer has reviewed this new plan, the storm drainage plan, and has concurs that the system will allow for 0 increase in peak runoff, which is the standard, which is what we're going to do. On the new parking lot, we are anticipating the plan is to put up 1 parking light, a luminaire. It's a LED light, 10-foot high pole, which will be on the southwest corner of the new parking lot. It'll be approximately 80 feet from the Higgins Parks property and about 160 feet from the western edge of our site, which would be the beginning of other properties on Alden Avenue. I've included in the package the manufacturer specification on the luminaire, possible accessories like a back shield, so if you don't want to have light spillage, and photometric diagrams for that particular luminaire. I did not do a full photometric study for the entire site for one light, but that the manufacturer's I think is appropriate. In addition to that part of the site, we will be reconfiguring and removing a portion of the existing paved areas around, which go up to the gymnasium right now, to allow for a green belt or lawn along the residential units. Right now, the existing paving goes right up to the gym, which was part of how it was built as a parochial school. Also on the northwest corner of the gym, there's an existing bollard, the paving is there since the 1960s. We're going to take that one out and replace with 2 more decorative bollards to protect the corner of the building, which is on the plan. Then after you go from the site plan going to the architecture, the application includes floor plans for the first and second story of the new building, as well as an elevation. The new apartments will have an entrance on the north side of the building, which is the Alden Avenue side of the building, as well as a connection to the corridor and front door of the existing apartments. Basically, it goes back to the same configuration it was as a school. There will be the the doors that go in that would take you into the gymnasium. The apartments will range from size from 650 square feet to 678 square feet. The finishes will be similar to the existing apartments, hardwood cabinets, granite countertops, vinyl wood plank floor, and I have to tell you, they've been well received, the floor plans in the existing building. In addition, each floor plan will have a common area component. The difference is with the existing school, we had a partial basement. So I put storage, tenant storage in the basement. I don't have that. This is on a slab. So I'm going to take both floors will have a section of the floor plan will have a common area which I anticipate will be an on-site laundry, just like we have the existing school, some tenant storage, and if need be, if we come to a situation where we're going to need an elevator, it'll have us a room to put in an elevator shaft within that common area. The elevation shows a two-story building with first floor units having a patio and the second floor units having a deck. The biggest difference between the existing building, the existing school which has been done, and the new construction is the regulations, the TD5 regulations changed where the applicant has to shield mechanical equipment. Most often it's on a roof, but in general you have to shield mechanical equipment. These units will be heated and cooled by a heat pump, just like the existing school is. So if you look on the elevation, the patio and the deck will have a structure where the heat pump will be within that structure. It's like a little closet, off the building with you'll see there's a vent and then a louvered door because the heat pump needs, air circulation to work. So that's different. You won't see the heat pumps like you do right now. If you go to the building, you'll see that the heat pumps are outside each unit. The intent is to have the new construction tie into the existing construction school, so it looks seamless, like it's always been one building. Same siding, which is gray, commercial grade vinyl siding, white trim. Where necessary, it'll have the privacy panel. I don't know if you've ever seen the site or not. The white privacy panels, double hung windows. So it'll look like it was always built as one building. The new building will have, in addition, it'll be a gabled roof, which will have architectural, I think it's going to probably be some shade of a gray type, charcoal type architectural shingles. It's a pitched roof. It won't be a membrane roof. It'll be a residential type roof. What I like to have is solar panels on the south side of the roof, but that's a different application. I got a great south exposure, which I'd really look forward to. But that's not a part of this application. The landscaping, what we did is that this is an existing site, going back to the original application in 2016. On all three sides, not necessarily all on the Evans side, but all three sides of the building, it's mature vegetation's been there forever. We're not proposing changing that. We are, however, planning on the front of the building putting two deciduous trees between the parking lot, which is previously approved, and the sidewalk, two deciduous trees there, and then appropriate landscaping around the new building, just like we have for the existing school, and then appropriate landscaping per the regulations around the new parking structure. So that's the extent of our landscaping. Around the site, we're not changing the mass of the building. The school is actually, the proposed new apartment building is probably actually by mass smaller than the existing gym. One is a gym, one is a two-story apartment building. So that hasn't changed. In the area, how would you put it? What's near us is we have Higgins Park to the south, which is this building, which is a brick building with a gabled roof. We have the fire station, which is a block building with a gabled roof. We have a shopping center on Enfield Street to the east side. And then we have some residential as you go down Alton Avenue, which are for the most part two-story, gabled roof, sided residential. So I think we fit into what was appropriate for the neighborhood. Okay, and then finally, the regulation requires a public amenity section, and I have to tell you, I struggled with it. And the way the regulation is written, and has nothing to do with the regulation per se. 2% of the new floor area has to have some kind of a public amenity component. For us, that would be 385 square feet, 2% of the new floor plan of the 2 stories. So we're proposing a 415 square foot lawn area along Higgins Park. And I'm very familiar with Higgins Park because I was involved with some of the planning early on with it. It'll be a place where next to the walking trail, next to the band shell, with a bench, just a pleasant place to sit and rest while you're walking on the trail. It won't have access to the site. I mean, I'm not planning on having public access to our property, but it is a public amenity, and I think I meet the spirit of what that is. I personally have concerns over the liability of the public on the property like this. I'll do it, but someone slips and falls on that property, and it's on my property, but it's mandated by the town. I'd like to just throwing that out there, because that's my discomfort with that requirement. That concludes my presentation. I kind of zipped through it, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your presentation. Open up for questions. Commissioner DeGray?
I just have a couple. In our notes, it talked about an easement for parking for the additional spaces here in the back. And I'll give you all my questions
Okay, sure,
if you can
okay,
answer them. You addressed the storage issue because I was worried about that. Snow storage, you're going to add more parking spaces, and where are you going to plow the snow? We just had a small storm, but if the one that they're talking about kind of jogs a little and we get a foot of snow or more, where would you put all of that snow? And lastly would be the question to the staff, since there's a new law going in effect on January 1 about EV stations, and 30-plus parking spaces need to have at least 2 or 4, depending, or 10%. So would that be relevant to this application? So, just questions.
The last one, I think we can get rid of that.
Okay.
He'll be in just under the wire. I don't think he requires, the threshold, I think, is 30 spaces.
Right.
So I don't think he meets that threshold.
And he's got 40.
Well, it doesn't come into effect until January of 23.
Okay, so then he's
So-
grandfathered for the 20 that he already has.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
As of January 23.
Right.
That's when it's
That's
going to
something we'll
kick
be
in.
discussing in January for sure.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
definitely be talking about that.
Yes.
All right, so the other two questions are
Okay,
yours, sir.
in order, the first one was the easements.
Right.
The easement has nothing to do with this new parking lot. It has to do with the existing subdivision. And there is an easement noted. We do have an easement on the, as Lori had asked, on lots 2 and 3. The second easement is there an easement required for the new storm drain between the buildings? And yes, I've already been in touch with there's in your pile, there's a authorization for me to go ahead and finish the easement with the Archdiocese on that, upon approval. So yes, they've both been required. And there was another one though.
Snow.
Oh, snow.
Snow piling. Where are you going to move all that?
Snow is the bane of every multifamily person's
It
existence.
always has been.
And to be honest with you, it's I've been at this for 40 years. And do you remember we had the 3-foot snow a couple of years ago, how many
Yep.
years ago?
Oh, yeah.
There were no answers for that. So to answer your question, we normally just push it to the grassy area behind the garage. We have plenty of room for that. And we just basically, we asked people to move cars so we can clear it and come back. There is parking on, now, once again, it's a snowstorm. Historically, they parked on Alden Avenue itself while we do a section of it, and then they come back. I mean, it's gymnastics. It's, plowing gymnastics. But you balance having less impervious area, which is a good thing, with enough parking. And right now, I'm averaging about 70% of the people on the first building have cars. So 30% do not. So parking has not been an issue. I have, I have a single-story building. I have a relatively large portion of elderly to handicapped people who have aids, but it's not parking time. So to answer your question, if it became an issue, I'd be in front of you again, knocking on your door saying I have the side area to put more parking in, but right now I wouldn't do that.
I'm not worried about the parking, but the piling of the snow. It's not on the plan.
Well, we just put it behind right now we just use it off to the lawn areas and behind the garage.
Okay, thank you.
But if I can't follow up But you're losing part of that lawn area when you're adding the new parking.
Pardon?
You're losing part of that lawn area for storing your snow if you're adding the new parking.
No, there is enough there. We've stockpiled snow if we had to with Bobcats behind the garage, behind the condo. That's all part of the 2.7 acres. So there's plenty of room to do it there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know the area.
You're right.
Yeah.
The access is from where the new parking lot is, but the area, there's more of the lawn area on the backside.
Lori? Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and behind what is now the gym,
Yeah.
that is a big green, well, there's a lot of area there, some green, some not, some blacktop, but there's, I mean, if they had to, they could literally just push it back there.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
I
thank you.
think
Golden
there's
Reed,
plenty of room.
I understand, but I was over there and there's a fence right there and it's really close to the corner of the building. So to try to push snow back there would be a,
Not to speak out of turn, it's 18 feet.
is it?
And the reason we don't have parking on that side is I don't have 24 feet. I don't have the ability to get a 2 lanes back there. But in a clinch, if I'm moving snow in a Bobcat, I can have a triaxle. And Lori's right, I got a lot of property, which is one of the attractiveness of the town at the time, that we had this large grassy area from the thing. But no, but you're right, it's not, I don't have good access to it, but I have plenty of land, plenty of area.
Okay, thank you.
You're all set?
Yep.
Commissioner Helinski?
Yeah, my question is, and maybe staff's not here, but, well, Lori's here. Is this considered affordable housing
No, it's
under the
not.
state guidelines? Okay, it is not?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
So I was just curious.
However, it might be more affordable than other housing.
Well,
even
that's
though
what I
it's
was
a-
thinking,
oh,
you know, that's what I was thinking, because I'm somewhat familiar with the area, and it's well-run, it's well-maintained, and people there seem happy, you know, so it's a good place.
Since I opened in 2016, 14 of the original 20 people still live there, which is unheard of. And it's I'm obviously getting what I hope is market rent, but it's I have a waiting list. I've never had I've never had an extended vacancy, which I anticipate being the same thing with the 2 buildings. So that's where we are.
Okay, thank you.
I think we'd probably consider it workforce housing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
I'm looking down the line, Commissioner Limo?
Thank you for your presentation. Excuse me. On your decks, the first floor deck is at grade?
Yes, it's
Concrete?
It's concrete. It's on grade. Yes.
Is it covering over it?
Yes, and
Okay.
the covering will be the deck of the second story.
Right, so as we go up, there's a deck above it?
To clarify that, not on the north side. There's 2 because of the fire code distances. The first side does not extend on a patio. It's built into the building. On the
What about the first floor?
first floor?
Okay.
Yes. On the other 3 sides, yes, it does go up.
And then on the second floor, there's a
The
deck
deck over the patio.
built into the building,
Yes. Yes.
so it's covered.
Yes.
You talked about a common area, a bench or something that you had to do by?
It's part of the amenity, not common area. Well, the
Public amenities.
Public
public
amenity.
amenity. I'm
Public
sorry,
amenities.
yes,
For
yes.
public, not for residents.
Well, the residents are public. I just I understand the requirement, but I don't anticipate my residents using it. And Lori brought a great example of parking of like picnic benches on site. Well, okay, you have what's a resident, what's a guest, what's public. So within the spirit of I'm actually next to Higgins Park, and I think if town staff, and I see Lori right there, if they have a better idea of something along Higgins Park, I'm fine.
so-
Pardon?
No, so where I was going with that, public amenities, do you have any other amenities for your tenants to actually be outside?
Well, we have a large grassy areas which they use in their patio, so that's been they walk their dogs on the grassy areas. But I don't have like a playground or playscape or anything like that. No.
What about an area to like have cookouts, gas grills and stuff like that?
They have
Because I'm a little just my question. I'm going back to the decks.
Right. They're not allowed
The second floor decks.
Well, by state law, you cannot have a grill on a deck or a patio.
Right.
So
I know. Well, yeah.
So
But
we
people-
didn't. I don't have anybody who has a grill, and no one's ever asked for one. But if you feel that they should somehow or someplace put a
Well, this building's a little different than the other one.
Oh, yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot different.
Oh, yeah,
So I know it's the state law, and you can't have a grill on a deck, but somebody could put a grill on a deck if they have nowhere else to go. That's what I'm saying, you know.
Oh, I don't disagree. I just didn't think of it, to be honest with you. But if you would like me to have a area to have a gas grill for the tenants, I'll be happy to do
A
it.
common area out there, you know, for the tenants to go and have it, you know, just so they don't, the alternative is to, you know, go on their own deck, which we don't want, obviously. But there's no area now designated.
No, no, sir, there isn't. No.
Yeah, maybe a common area you can call it for, well, I don't know. I'm not suggesting playscape or anything. I'm just saying somewhere where they can go outside and have an area to use.
As a condition of approval, I'll put a common area, a grill area, in the courtyard area of the school. I know, now that I'm talking, I know where I'd put it. It's accessible to the new construction as well as the old building. No one's ever asked the question, so I'll be happy to do it. It's not good. We have a common area within the building.
Right, I see that. Yeah, that's
No,
nice.
and-
No,
and-
I'm
and
talking
the
about
existing building,
outside. It's a nice night. You want to go out and have a beer.
Whereabouts
or something.
outside?
Put it, say, it's the interior courtyard, which they'll know what it is. It's the,
Yep,
you
got
know,
it.
I can designate
Yep,
it.
okay.
And
Thank you
then
very much.
obviously, if you're going to do that, you probably want to have it lit somehow. I know you have one light right now. I don't know if that would
Well, I
take
can have
care
a
of.
light on the building.
Okay.
I can have, yeah, so
Yeah, I think
that's not a problem.
I think that might work out and save you some headaches.
Oh,
and
that's
everyone-
fine. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just had a couple of just points I wanted to make. Thank you for that, agreeing to having that 29th condition. We'll add that. And when we go to word that, if it's not quite right, please help us with that.
Yeah.
But I just want to bring to your attention again, there are some site-specific conditions that are in here just to make you aware, make sure everything's fine. The applicant should consider moving the light fixture to the new parking area in front of the parcel. I think you already alluded to that. You already done
That's
that in the
fine.
plans
Yep.
now. Dimensions of the new structure needed to be added to the plans. I think you've done that.
Yes.
Detail lighting fixtures to the plans with full cutoff and pedestrian scale, define the height. I didn't catch that. I believe that was done in the plan.
It's not on the plan, but the specification is not on, I'll put it on the plan sheet.
Okay, well, that's going to be one of the conditions. That'd be fine. We talked about the public amenities, and we're going to add a little bit more here for your own residents. And the plan title box should be amended to say TD5 rather than TB. That's one of the conditions. And again, if it's not done tonight, that's fine. It's just going to be one of the conditions.
Oh, yeah, I
just wanted to bring it to your attention.
I thought we picked those up, but
Yeah.
okay, that's fine.
Yep. That was all I had. Any other questions, concerns? The applicant was willing enough to did you have some, Chris? Yeah, please.
Yeah, just a quick question about the back grassy area. I think you referred to that. That doesn't seem to have direct access by the residents, but you said they use it for like walking dogs.
Well,
Is that-
the back, okay, there's two back, when I say the back area, there's where the people walk the dogs now is the grassy area behind the garage, is on the main entrance. The area that Lori referenced is the large grassy area between the gym and Higgins Park. There will be access to that area for people directly off their patio and decks on that side of the building. They walk right onto it. But in light of Commissioner Lamo's idea of the common area, there is a door that goes right to the courtyard, right to that back area. The reason I've done nothing with that area is I thought I was tearing down the trees and putting parking for the gym. So I never considered it for any other use other than it was going to be part of Higgins Park. So now, yeah, that's fine. I agree with that. Yeah.
No? Oh, that's the area we were referring to. And
Well, the common area I think is with Commissioner Malema. I know where I'm going to put it based on that. It's kind of sheltered. I mean, it's kind of a private area, interior courtyard. If you know the school, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The area you're talking
Yeah.
about is just like an open lawn area,
Yeah.
which is pretty and it's going to be nicer now. But I think but they will have access to it.
are those? I mean, I have the view. Are those two connected?
Yeah, you
like
just
that
walk-
courtyard area to the bigger grassy area.
Yes, you just walk right to the what'll be the east side of the building. Yeah.
And there's access, like
Oh, yeah,
direct
it's just-
access.
It's just a large lawn area. Yes.
Great, that's awesome. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
I like it.
thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, Mr. Secretary, but there is going to be another condition added.
Yeah, so we're going to need conditions to be specific to.
Yeah, do you want to make a motion to add the condition first and then do the approval?
Yeah. Probably need a little help with the wording on that.
Yeah. There's a motion to add a condition 29, which is to provide a common area for the residents in the courtyard area. Is that sufficient?
Yes, that's more
So, condition 29, there's a motion, chairman's actually making a motion, which I shouldn't, but I will, to provide a common area for the residents in the courtyard area. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adding that condition signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, so let it show unanimous that condition 29, with agreement by the applicant, has now been added to the application. So now, Mr. Secretary.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve SPR number 1902, application to convert an existing gymnasium into 20 residential dwelling units at 90 Alden Avenue, Bellsite Development, LLC, owner applicant, William Belloc. Applicant's representative, map 28, lot 17, TD5 zone, per the reference plans, reports, and application materials listed herein, with the following modifications and 29 conditions of approval.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Helinski. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, whenever the secretary is ready for a roll call.
Louis Fiore.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Francis Salimo.
4.
Kiran Majmudar.
4.
Kenneth Helinski.
4.
Christian D'Antonio.
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
The record shows unanimous agreement. This has been passed with the 29 conditions.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks.
Just give us a
Mr.
second.
Chairman,
Yes.
my computer's about to reboot, so I'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Okay, Lori. All right. Happy reboot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you very much for waiting through us. Are we all set to move on to the next? Whenever you're
Yep.
ready, Mr. Secretary.
SPR number 1907, 50 Palumba Drive, remodel and expansion of existing car dealership and associated site improvements. Gale Toyota applicant owner, map 57, lot 337, BR zone.
Thank you. Would the applicant and the representatives please identify themselves for the record?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Guy Hesketh. I'm a licensed professional engineer with the firm F.A. Hesketh & Associates. Our corporate offices are located in East Granby, Connecticut.
I am Bob Green, representing the 50 Palumba LLC and Gale Toyota.
Good evening. I'm Lori DiBattisto. I am a licensed engineer as well, and my corporate location's in East Granby as well.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
She's at 5 Creamery Brook, right next to me.
There we go. Go ahead. We'll lead the way.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I do have on the screen the site plan application that you have before you. This one is dated revised to 12/09. 2022, so it may be slightly different than the package that you have received. I'm not sure if you have this one specifically, but this one incorporates revisions that address town staff comments that came in subsequent to the original application. So I'll just go over it real quick. You're all familiar with the site, 50 Palumba Drive, map 57, lot 337. And what Bob's going to do is he's going to demolish the whole front portion of his building, extend it about 10 feet further to Palumbo Drive, and then on the southern portion of the building, you'll see a bump out there. That bump out is going to be an access for a customer to drive in their vehicle when they drop it off for service. They can go in and get in out of the weather and then meet with the technician there and then have their car either go in the waiting room if it's a short visit or go out and take off and come back later. So those are the improvements that are proposed. The service area, the column lines are going to remain, but we are extending it. I think it's 3 bays further to the west. And I'll show you the difference between the proposed and existing building when I get to the grading plan. But essentially what it involves is new sales and showroom, new offices, and as I mentioned, that drive-through drop-off area, and then an expansion of the surface area. And in order to do this, we do need to regrade around the site for the building because the building has the site itself has some grading differentials. So if we expand the building, we've got to do a little bit of grading to feather into the existing grading. We are going to reconfigure the parking areas on the east side and on the north side, and that will include adding and cleaning up the ADA spaces so they're more compliant. And because we are extending the front of the building out a little bit, we have a little bit of grade difference there, so we'll have to do some ADA ramps to provide ADA access to the front of the building. And then we do have some You'll notice on the west side of the building, on this plan, you'll see sort of a gray hashed area. That area is currently landscaped area now, and we're going to provide access for trucks to be able to circumnavigate the building. And in order to not increase the impervious area, we are proposing what we call grass pavers, which are concrete checkerboard type structures, and then they have an infill with like a pea stone material so that it simulates the impervious or the permeability that you'd have similar to a landscaped area. We went before your Wetlands Commission, I think it was 3 weeks ago, Bob, was it? Something like that, a month ago maybe? And we got approval from them. So this is our layout plan. You'll notice on this kind of northwest corner that's also kind of got that crosshatched area. Those are areas of parking spaces that we're proposing for, again, pervious pavers along here. The reason we're doing that is because we're balancing the green space on the site, so we don't have to, since we don't have really room for stormwater detention, if we can mimic the green space area of the site, then we don't have an increase in runoff. So that included these non-paved space here with the grass pavers, and again, this area around here for the truck circulation. On this,
if I can interrupt, just ask a question on the pavers, because I don't want to lose the thought. Are those additional pavers that might have been added after the town engineer's report?
Yeah, well, we had originally had them up here on the northeast portion of the project, and then he recommended that we move them over to the western portion. So
He also recommended that you add more. Did you?
Yeah, I think we added 3 more than what were there before.
Okay.
So
okay, we'll get back to that. Go ahead.
Yeah.
go
So
ahead.
On the kind of northeast corner here, we have a location where we're looking for electrical vehicle charging spaces. Staff had looked at that. There's a new mandate coming down from the state that requires for new construction, I think it's after January 1st of 2023, they want municipalities to have 10% of total parking spaces be EV spaces. So this is kind of a new mandate. We're still trying to get our head around it. I don't know how it's going to come down from a planning perspective. But on this site, we have a total of 55 parking spaces that are proposed. If you look at your formula in your zoning regulation, when we look at office area and total gross area of the building, that mandates a number of parking spaces. And then for outdoor storage areas, that trips another requirement. So we have 2 sort of factors that are involved in determining the parking ratio. One is the total gross square foot of the building, and then our outdoor display areas, which we show in the shaded area that you see in these parking spaces that are located on the southern portion of the project. We sell cars, so that's our inventory. Our outside inventory is car spaces, and Bob likes to when he can, to stack them in neat rows so customers can come in and out and test vehicles and not have things double stacked. So those are our outside storage area. When you look at those 2 areas in the aggregate, we're required to have 52 parking spaces. We're proposing 55. Staff had recommended that instead of 12 electric vehicle parking spaces that we proposed on our plan, that we reduce those to 6. That meets the 10% requirement for the state statute. But we'd like to have those additional 6 as placeholders for future locations of EV parking spaces. We don't know where the market's going. Toyota is requiring that he have 12 of them, so we're going to initially install the 6, and then we're going to kind of get a feel for this, figure out when we can install those for the future. But we'd like this commission to allow the 6 per staff's recommendation to be installed initially with the placeholder for those additional. So when that time comes, that we request to be able to just go meet with staff and be able to pull a building permit for those. So we are going to put the infrastructure in for those, the conduit, and have that ready to go. The charging stations would be put in again in a future time. Grading wise in our storm drainage, by the way, the bulk requirements are listed in this plan in a table here. I won't get into those in detail, but those require the minimum lot size, the setbacks, and all that stuff. We meet the requirements there. I do have some signs shown here. These EV spaces will be delineated with an EV dedicated vehicle parking space and then a logo that we'll put in the parking spaces. There are, in the area located here, just on the east side of where the service entrance is, we have designated 6 parking spaces for customers. Staff had asked us to put some signage in there to make sure those are customer parking spaces so that, the employees there don't start parking vehicle inventory. So we did that as part of that. Our landscape plan, show you that real quick. We have these landscaped islands that we're putting in south of this vehicle route around the drop-off area. That those will be soft-scaped, but we'll have daylilies in there. Those are pretty resilient to plow and snow plowing activities. And then we have in front of the store a series of shrubs and some ornamental trees that we'll be putting in. So there's not much there now, but we'll put some nice landscaping in there. Grading wise, again, I mentioned we're going to have to do a little bit of regrading. There's a dashed line located on the grading plan, which is in this area here, just on the south side of these islands here. That's the match point. We're going to saw cut that area there, and then everything that's on north of that line will be reconstructed. And again, there are minor changes to grading, but because the building itself is a little bit larger and we're matching entrances where entrances don't exist now to the first floor. We have to have ramps for vehicles in the showroom to get in and out of the building. And then this vehicle service area. Here's the line where the old service area ends. You can see it here on the east end. So we're going to add 3 bays here. And, one of those areas will be inside storage on the end. So that we'll get rid of some outside storage we've got. We do have a dumpster enclosure located here on the northeast side. That will be for the waste products that will be put in there. That'll be fully screened. There's a detail in your plan. So grading-wise, we're basically just going to have the runoff drain from the building away. We're going to reconstruct the drainage along the northern perimeter of the site and tie into the existing storm drains. There's really no other changes for the grading or drainage on the south side. There's existing catch basins. We're going to reset those tops of frames. All of the drainage will continue to be picked up by the existing storm drain system and brought to Palumbo Drive. Again, because we balance the green space, we don't have any increase in runoff there. That's been reviewed by the town engineer. We are showing a placeholder, you can see here, for temporary trailers that will be used during construction. We haven't gotten the logistics of that determined at this time, but we'd like that to be part of the approval so that when the showroom here is under construction, they'll have a place. Again, we'll go through the full building permit process on that, temporary facilities for sanitation and all that stuff. But we just wanted to show a placeholder where that would be so customers will be able to see that office as they come into the lot and they can work with the sales staff there. Utility-wise, we've got water sewer. We're going to hook into the same existing facility infrastructure. We do have a new oil grease separator, oil water separator that we placed in here. That's a requirement of the Department of Energy Environmental Protection, so we'll honor that requirement. We'll work that out with your sewer department. But electric service, gas, water will be from Palumbo Drive. There's really not much change to that. That's pretty much it. In the site plan, I do show some details of the green pavers. The town engineer had asked us to take an underdrain out of the green paver, so we eliminated that.
You did. That's gone.
Yeah, we did that. And then he wanted some increase under the dumpster pad and for additional process stone. We did that. He initially wanted us to put thicker concrete for the sidewalk because we have some areas that are flush for handicap parking. He was concerned vehicles would park on that. I explained to him that our detail for the handicap parking has a steel bollard with a poly cover in front with the sign on it that prevents vehicles from actually going on the sidewalk. We do that instead of putting the sign behind the sidewalk just so that vehicles can encroach on there, and there's plenty of access for somebody in a wheelchair to make that. So he agreed with me that was okay. That was an adequate solution. Again, some more details. I won't bore you with that. The notes. The town engineer did have a couple comments on the notes. I guess we had a wrong phone number for somebody. I pulled it off a plan we did 10 years ago. So I think I got Matt's right phone number now, so he'll be getting the phone calls. And then there was a comment about a bond. I think I had a note from an old subdivision or something, so we changed that. And then the existing condition plan we show here. And then I'll just explain real quick, and maybe Lori can answer the questions. But here's the floor plan. This shows the sales area in the front where the vehicles, they intend to probably have one of each model displayed up in this area here. And then when a customer comes to pick up a vehicle, I think they're prepped, right? They can come in and grab them from there. And then here's the vehicle drop-off area you see on the side here. So this is the showroom area, and then the parts department, customer areas to hang out, and then employee break rooms and things of that nature on the first floor. There's a mezzanine, has additional office space upstairs, and then just a very limited amount. And then, again, here's the area for the service bays, and these are the existing ones, and then they've got a few additional they're putting in. And then architectural-wise, this is the Toyota look that's in front. It'll have a very similar to what's there now. It's a little bit more modern. You can see that. And then the back will just be the CMU that you see from the other side. The Toyota sign that you have out in the parking lots here, there'll be similar signage on the building. I understand from Matt that the signage would be a separate request when they're ready to do that. But we wanted to show you how that looked from an architectural perspective. But I know it's getting late. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Is that a cutout, like a corporate cutout per se of Toyota Corporation?
Yes.
Typical cutout?
Yeah. They like the red and they like the red and the black. And so we're actually going to put red bollards around the buildings and kind of, well, instead of safety yellow, I mean, people can see that as just as easy, I guess, for that. So that's our presentation in a nutshell. Yeah, I think we addressed the town comments, and we're just looking for an approval tonight, and we're here to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner DeGray.
You know I have questions. Okay, you're saying you're getting rid of some storage outside. I was over there today and I saw 2 sheds and a mess of tires outside just thrown in the back. Are those going to be inside? I saw signs on the sheds and it looked like some hazardous materials, so I didn't know.
That's to keep people out.
Oh, that's just to keep people out? Good idea. And now, also I noticed parking on the grass in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Are these new spaces going to alleviate those cars? I don't know whose cars they were, if they were employees or people, I don't know whose cars they were. But along where that back row is, back of the building, that whole thing was filled with cars parked in the back. So is these new spaces going to alleviate that? They were parked in the grassy area.
Oops, I think my thing, I'm looking for the, did I do something wrong?
I don't know. It's broke. There you go.
Here we go.
There we go. All right, so, yeah,
Good thing my kids aren't here to yell at me for doing something wrong.
okay.
If you look at the layout plan here, you'll see that those areas where people park now or cars are parked, that's going to be where the truck drive area is itself, so that we won't be able to park there.
Give us a second.
Is that Lori trying to log in?
It might be Lori trying to log in, but when
It must be Lori.
he's using this,
Yeah.
she can't.
Alex, we need you.
How do I,
You have to click on the Teams icon, I think.
oh, let me see.
Yeah.
Oh.
Try that.
Yeah. Computer broke.
Which one, this one in here? or-
No, you can be fine. We just lost Lori.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's okay.
Okay.
All right,
Just add Alden Street.
I hope it wasn't me that did that.
all right. So that will alleviate all that parking in the grassy area.
Yeah, right now, people are parking here, so they won't be able to now because there really isn't any room, and that will have to be left open for that circulation around the building.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the
There's-
tires being left outside, a bunch of tires, that kind
Yeah,
of was a
that will all be
concern.
moved inside with
Okay.
the storage space that we're adding.
So who is parking there now?
It's mostly employees.
So where are they going to be parking in the new scheme?
They've got that last row.
Up in there
Yeah, on the south side.
and here?
Yeah.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
okay.
where you plan to have your employees park down there.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Helinski.
I had a question about the EV spaces. I know you want to get up to 12. I'm not sure what the projection is, but Can you park in an EV space if you're not an EV car?
That's a question.
Yeah, that's,
I'm not sure it even relates to this.
yeah, that's a
No.
good question.
You know, it's not, I don't think it's like a handicap. It's a ticket for parking.
Yeah, school is still out on this. I'm doing a couple of other commercial projects and some residential projects now, and I've got one, a grocery store with 250 parking spaces, so now we got to have 250 something. We got to have 26 EV spaces. We don't think there's, especially when you have a use like a grocery store or a dealership here. If people are coming here to visit for an hour, are they really going to be charging their cars? It's not like an apartment complex or something makes sense. If you have an electric vehicle and you come home from work, you got to charge it. Nobody knows where this is going, and the statutes for the state aren't really tightly written. So at this point, we'll probably have them in, and if somebody were to park there because they needed to park there, I think it would be okay. There's no real enforcement authority since it's on private property. We'll see where it goes in the next few years. We just don't know.
Unlike a supermarket or shopping area, we have control over the vehicles that are parked, every vehicle in our lot. We have the keys or access to the keys, so if somebody wants to charge your car, we can move a car.
Just having to think of that possibility.
Yeah.
You run it full, you have a busy day, no parking.
Well, clearly, this is an issue to planning and zoning we are going to have to address in the coming year. And you're absolutely right, the legislation is being developed or probably will be changed or added to over the course of next year. Matt Laurie brought this to our attention, and we will be discussing this. We have to discuss it.
Yeah, I
But
think
some of the
that-
same questions you've brought up. So it's
Well,
really
the
an
other
issue.
issue too is with accessible parking. Does 10% of the accessible parking spaces need to be EV? And that's kind of what we're doing now on our larger projects. We're providing at least one accessible space as both accessible and EV parking.
Right.
But again, the question comes up, if somebody comes up in a wheelchair, in a van, and it's not an EV, can they still park there? And
Yeah.
my guess is probably,
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy who just bought an EV truck, and he says, well, there's an app. I said, how do you know where to go charge up? He said, well, we have this app. It tells me what spaces are open and all that. And I'm thinking, well, it's probably not going to be your spaces. It's probably somebody that's putting them in for rental. or something.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't plan to have spaces available to the general public, only our patrons
Sure. Or employees.
or employees.
Yeah. Looking down the line here, Commissioner D'Antonio?
Yep. Yeah. The only thing that somewhat concerned me was that there's not too much screening on the back of the property between the Costco lot. Is there? And I couldn't tell from the plans, the circulation route behind it. Is that going to require the removal of any of that existing screening, or are you working within? The
No,
existing
there will
plans?
be required, we will be required to remove some existing vegetation. There is some vegetation along the fence line that will stay. And the vegetation there is not really, it's sort of from the operational area of one commercial entity to the operational area of another commercial entity, because it is kind of like the loading areas of both of them. So, we really honestly weren't too worried about that. But whatever vegetation is along that property line that we can maintain, we'll keep. And, if Mother Nature takes over and starts to fill in a little bit, we'll just let that grow.
So minor impact.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other follow-up was for the pavers. All the examples I had seen, they're some sort of like grass, but you mentioned like some pea stone.
Yeah, there's two ways you can kind of do these. You can, they call them grass pave, but you can either you put down a granular subbase and you put down the structure itself, and you can either fill them with topsoil and plant grass in them, or you can use a pea stone material. Our experience with this type of facility, you're better off doing the pea stone in there, because if you try to do the grass, it becomes more of a maintenance issue. So the pea stone's been fairly successful, and it provides a little bit of texture. So you get the hydrologic characteristics that you want, even though you don't get the sort of color that you want for the green. But that's what we would propose here, because from a long-term perspective with plowing and operations, it just seems to have a better life to do that.
Great, thanks. And if you don't mind, just about the EV parking spaces, I'd be all right. I figured part of the reason you were asking for a higher proportion of them was possibly for use of the dealership. Is there any potential use of, like, sales of EVs if you keep them on site for a longer period of time? You need to keep them charged. Was that part of the expected usage of those?
For the 12 that Toyota requires, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They require, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but they require, I think in our case, 4 level 3 chargers, which will charge a average EV with 250-mile range in 9 to 10 hours. But the level 2 chargers, no, wait a minute, they'll charge in a couple hours or less than an hour, depending on the.
Yeah, level 3s, I think, are 20 to 30 minutes, and the level 2s
Yeah.
are 8 hours, I think.
But it depends on what the car can accept too. Different manufacturers have different acceptance rates and different rates at different temperatures. It's, it's all new and it's hard to anticipate.
Well, I guess what I was getting to is, like, I understand, like, your point about, customers aren't necessarily at your location for a longer period of time, but you may, being a car dealership, you may have a business use for them for cars that you sell, because you don't have any proposed EV locations on the south side, right?
No. They have,
so if you did sell EVs and you need to keep them charged, right, they would also utilize those existing spaces, maybe off hours or.
Yeah, off hours.
And you have the chargers also in the.
We have charger in shop.
In the shop that they
there'll
use
probably
for
be
that.
one in the delivery area in there, in the showroom, so.
Great.
Yeah, so when they prep a car for delivery, they'll have it charged in the shop, and then it'll, be available for someone to come in and drive it off immediately, fully charged.
Great. Thanks for that.
And one of the things I mentioned, Commissioner D'Antonio, in the application basically specifies if we give them the option of only having to install 6 now, in this way, if post-expansion operations show that sufficient non-EV parking supply of desired additional EV stalls can be constructed as some future use with the application process. So they're not limiting themselves. I'm sure they probably perceive going forward someday they're going to need more than 6.
Yeah, I think that's a good balance to strike. I agree.
John?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, so the applicant has got a plan that he's presented that's different than what we have.
Some amendments, some changes.
There's some changes and amendments, so.
I'm glad you brought that up. I just clarify that. Just sometimes when we're moving things quickly and trying to get things, scheduled and on a docket, and we run into this situation where we don't have enough time to review revised plans and modify memos. We got packets. There's a certain day the packet has to go out. There's a couple of days lead time, et cetera, all those kinds of kinds of things. So this does happen on occasion. So Guy and I, we had talked about it, and what I suggested was the action tonight will be based on the record plans that are referenced in the memo, and that this presentation tonight was basically more informational for your benefit, to let you know that we have coordinated and discussed and collaborated, and John Cabibbo has reviewed and has approved these changes, and that they're willing to make the changes. What'll happen is they'll make the changes post-approval. This will be the conditions that as we wrote them, and then when we do the submission of the final plans that we get will be basically what you saw tonight, the revised plans, but the action will be taken on the plans of record. I know it's a little bit weird and not as smooth as we'd prefer it to be, but sometimes we just don't have the opportunity to do things kind of on the fly.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Okay, no, I appreciate the question. Just a couple of quick things real quick. Condition 20 in here should say revised and not reviewed. That was a typo on my part. I apologize for that. I don't know that there's any need to make note of that other than just to say it. We'll fix it. And then the second thing is, in terms of the 12 spaces versus 6 in the EV, yep, we're going to need to talk about EVs and figure out how we're going to deal with EVs. So I have no concerns whatsoever about, deferring to the future. We'll do 6 now and in the future. The only caveat I would say is, and this should be obvious, I suppose, is in light of the conversation and the concerns about parking in places where there shouldn't be parking, if it's determined at the time that we're still having that problem, just so everyone's on the same page, staff is probably going to be reluctant to allow additional spaces to be converted to EV spaces if that situation continues. So.
Whenever you reboot the computer, Lori needs to get back in. She wants to get back in the Teams call. So.
Yes. Can we just
Here,
pause for a second?
I'll let you drive. You want?
Yeah, if you guys don't need the plans anymore, I can bring it down. That's fine with everybody.
Are you okay with the?
Sure.
I'm good with playing, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Question for staff.
Oh,
Staff.
yep. Commissioner Limo, go ahead.
Can we go to the staff?
Yep, please.
On the revised plans, did you stamp them in?
We didn't get hard copy. See, that's the thing, is that
Okay.
there's the OpenGov system, which is the digital, and then there's hard copy. I didn't want them to have to do 14 sets of revised.
No, what I was gonna suggest is we just say tonight, plans received on such a date, so we know it's
But the
not these,
conditions-
it's those.
But the conditions would have to all be revised and changed and tweaked and modified to reflect what's been done on these new plans. So it's just simpler and easier for staff and for everybody if we just base it on the plans of record. Post-approval, we get check prints. We get a couple check prints, final, review them, make sure all the edits are done.
I'm just raising this so there's not a problem 10 years from now, so everybody, looks back at the record or whatever, so what plans they
Yeah,
approve.
well, that's why, I don't always do this, but, I guess it's a good practice. We always list the record plans, and we always have a date, plan, it's all dated and everything. So
Okay, right.
it should be pretty clear, I hope.
That's good. Thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Thank you, Frank.
Commissioner Masvidar?
Yeah, I have a question, not necessarily a question, it's more a comment, and this is more in reference to doing what you propose to do, which is doing the entire parking lot over again, as well as the building. You're in the business of displaying your product in that parking lot, as well as within the building, as well as servicing the vehicles. So during construction, you're going to have all this inventory at some point or another that may be in one stage of construction or another stage. So given the neighborhood, which is also all industrial, especially automobile related, if there is an impact on any such neighbors, is there some kind of a plan that you may have that says, hey, listen, if this happens, we'll take care of it? The neighbors don't get impacted because they're all in the same auto business. It's not a planning and zoning related comment, but I just want you to be aware that that's not uncommon. I've seen construction traffic jams happen, and in this specific instance, because they're all auto-related, it may be an issue. The second comment I'm going to make is in reference to the EV and the actual policy that we, the commission, will have to develop as far as the EV parking is concerned. You're, again, in this business of selling cars as well as whatever is future for the cars, like electric. You know more about it. So if you're proposing more than 6 recommended by the town engineer, I have no issue with that. I'm sure you need more. You'll find a way to put in more. You only have so much area and so many parking, display, customer service, what have you. So it shouldn't be an issue, in my opinion. But yes, we do need to develop some policy at our level.
For sure.
To accommodate the EV. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I just had 2 quick ones, actually 3 very quick ones. One is I was glad to see you were working with the town engineer on some of those items that he brought up in our memo, especially when it comes to the what I call the water pavers, whatever you want to call them, the proper term. I was kind of hoping I was going to see a little bit more of those pervious pavers added to your plan, but I'm glad at least you addressed that and you didn't need to have the water retention basin based on that too. That was nice to see that removal also. We didn't touch about lighting. I don't want to take a lot of your time. On the lighting, are they going to be shielded? I know there's no residential areas really affected, but just asking.
Yeah, we're really actually proposing to just relocate the fixtures that are there. There's only 3 that are being relocated. And are they shielded fixtures now? What do you have there?
They are shielded? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Downlighting, yeah.
Okay. The only thing I just want to mention, there's 3 conditions here I'll just mention real quickly for everybody. One is on site-specific conditions, number 12. Basically, they're saying that landscaper prior issuance of a zoning permit, such stakes in that northwest corner has to be done. Due to the proximity of proposed work along the western portion of the north property line, the contractor shall have this portion of the property line staked in the field by a licensed surveyor prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, and such stakes shall remain in place until the issuance of by the certificate of occupancy by the Enfield ZEO. That's condition 12.
Yep, I see that.
Down the same page, 18. We're basically just making that point. We're gonna waive and let them do it with the 6 EV stalls. I'm just looking at everybody here. And also Matt's number 20. We need to make a change there. We should do that, I think, as part of the motion, Mr. Secretary, so that spelling has been corrected. The final plan shall be revised to address the town engineer's review comments. And that was really all I had. Commissioner Limo?
Yeah, I have a comment on what you were talking about, the EVs. We're going to have them do 6 instead of the 12, but the applicant did say they're going to put the infrastructure in for the additional 6.
Absolutely.
So it's not going to require them to come back here for,
no.
Right?
No, we would do that
Do the
administratively.
infrastructure, and if you need them, you're going to put them in.
Right, we would do it administratively. The only caveat I said is that if the parking continues to occur in areas where parking is not supposed to occur, we would probably not approve it administratively.
Right, there was a major parking change.
Exactly,
comment
right.
there. Yes, we just put the infrastructure in that whole side for 12.
Just
yes.
to avoid, them to have to come back here again.
Oh, come on.
We don't want
we
them
like to
back
have
here.
customers.
Frank, you want to see me again?
Nah.
Next
applicant.
Are we going to have like a waiver to decrease the EVs from 12 to 6? Or
Yes,
are we?
it's already in there.
Well, there's a condition in there that we were going to have them reduce it to 6, so we could modify that language a little bit accordingly, but there's no need for a waiver per se, because we don't have a requirement right now, nor does the state until January. So these were done basically voluntarily by them, or because Toyota told them that they need to.
Staff is recommending 6.
6.
From what I interpret here.
Yep,
So,
yep.
and that's what they're going with. So, I mean, I'm good with that.
Yes, it's one of the conditions.
But again, they're going to set it up so they could do 12.
Yep.
Which I brought up, so they can just go ahead and notify you and put them in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're only going to do the wiring and
Right, to put the whatever they have to do.
first, they're not going to do it twice.
Right.
Get it prepped so that when we pop in the units later.
Okay, good.
Any other questions or concerns? Staff, any other questions or concerns? Make them at this point. Are you guys all set?
Sir.
Make a motion to approve.
Yeah, Mr.
With the
Chair.
one revision there, with the spelling revision. Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve SPR 1907 application for permit to construct 10,427 square foot addition with associated site improvements at 50 Palumba Drive, 50 Palumba LLC, owner, Gale Toyota applicant, Guy Hesketh, PE, applicant's representative, map 57, lot 337, BR zone, per the reference plans and reports and application materials listed herein, with the following modifications of approval. There are 30 conditions noted, and with respect to condition number 20, the following revision to be made to substitute the language, the word reviewed, to revised, so it would read, the final plan shall be revised to address the town engineer's review comments.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second made by Commissioner Limo.
I have one comment on the square footage. I wasn't sure if the correct amount of square footage was indicated on that. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I heard 10,000.
Yes, 10,000, it says 10,427.
Gotcha, okay, the increased size, okay, thank you.
Yep. So there was a motion made and seconded by Commissioner Limo. Was there any discussion? Seeing none, Secretary, call the roll, please.
Lou Fiore.
4.
Linda DeGray.
4.
Francis Alamo.
4.
Kiran Majmudar.
4.
Ken Helinski.
4.
Christian D'Antonio.
4.
And John Petronella is 4.
Thank you. Let the record show unanimous, 7-0. So you guys are all set.
Looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Have a good holiday season.
Yep. Thank you.
You too, man.
All right. Now we'll move on to other business. Basically, the first thing on other business is to adopt the 2023 meeting calendar. Basically, I think hopefully you all have the meeting calendar in your packet. There are 2 changes that are being recommended to the next year's meeting calendar. One is that the November 9th date be moved to November 16th. And that's basically due to the fact that a lot of us work elections and unavailable that week of the 9th. So we're looking to move that up to the 16th, a week. The other one is basically to try to get away a little bit from the Christmas time. So from December 14th to December 7th, and from December 28th to December 21st. I figure no one wants to be here between Christmas and New Year's, right? So I'd like to make a motion that you adopt this new meeting calendar with the 3 updates for the 2023 season.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the meeting calendar? Is everyone's approval?
No.
Okay, seeing none, there's a motion made by the chairman again, and seconded by the vice chair. All those in favor of adopting the 2023 calendar with those 3 changes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let the record show it was unanimous, 9-0 to adopt this meeting schedule.
And Mr. Chair,
Yes.
It also calls for a meeting next Thursday, December.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, that's item C.
Okay.
Also, I passed out to you tonight the planning zoning alternate schedule based on the rotation. I think you all kind of know how it works. Everyone has a month. For instance, January is Commissioner Grillo's month. If he's not here, by default, Commissioner LaFakis would sit in his place. If Mr. LaFakis wasn't here too, then Chris would sit in his place. So basically, this follows the same rotation we had last year. It's just a little bit different because just the way it lines up. And also, I gave the option here, if we have no August meeting, how it would fall if we don't have a meeting in August. So I would accept a motion to accept the zoning alternate schedule for 2023.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner DeGray. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Petronella. Any discussion on the alternate schedule? Seeing none, I'll show of hands to accept the 2023 alternate. Let the record show is unanimous to adopt the planning and zoning alternate schedule, 9-0. Also, item C is basically how we arranged tonight. And Matt, you can smile, and Lori would too if she was here, is we have nothing on our agenda for next week. Basically, we'll get to that as we go down through a couple more things here. But there's nothing on next week's agenda. So I'm proposing that by a show of hands, unless you guys want to meet, that we don't meet a couple days before Christmas. Is there any agita about that? Seeing none, just by a show of hands, all those in favor of canceling next week's meeting, signify by saying aye. Lori, too. Let the record show is unanimous, 9-0 to cancel next week's meeting. Now, since Lori's back on, even though I know Matt probably could do this too, back 2 months ago, which is almost the last time we had our meeting, we did issue a cease and desist to a One Peerless Way, so I would appreciate it if staff could give us an update of where we stand on that as of tonight, since that was 2 months ago back in October. So I'm not sure if Lori, yep. Thank you, Lori.
I could give a quick update. I mean, I've been speaking with the town manager and building official and zoning enforcement officer, and so we are going to probably do a 3-pronged attack before closing them down, basically. So we're basically going to give them an ultimatum. So we're working on that.
So everyone understands the staff, the town hall is working on what we need to do to get that in compliance, that building in compliance. Nick, you're looking at me, you need an update on that, or?
Did you say the address?
One Peerless Way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Essentially, it is a number of buildings on property that are fully occupied and they don't have a PO on any of the buildings.
And it's been ongoing for about 2 years, so. Okay, we had that about 2 months ago, if you guys remember. Is there anything else on the fourth? Probably not. Anything else on correspondence? Commissioners' correspondence. Director of Planning report.
Well, I wish I was there. I think I have the flu, so I've had this fever that won't go away. So, you know, one of the reasons that we're not going to have the meeting next week is the POCD was lacking some of the comments, and so we want to take the time and make sure all the comments are in there. I did go through yesterday before I fell ill. I was able to kind of get through most of the comments from our last meeting, but there was still a whole packet of stuff that I needed to go through. So I figure we may as well take the time, get it done right, and we'll get the draft adopted to the point of sending out at the next meeting. So that will be January 12th. Right.
We understands what you received this past week. That does not have all the changes that we wanted, the 2 meetings we had prior to that. So
Yeah.
the plan is to have it on the 12th or prior to the 12th, so you can review it for the 12th. And I think also, Tuller, you're going to come out with a new timeline
New
schedule,
schedule.
a new schedule
Timeline.
based on the 12th? Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner DeGray had a question.
So just real quickly, when we adopt the draft, that starts the 65-day time frame, and then we send it out to CROG. We put it out in the town clerk's office. We send it to the town council, and of course, you all have the opportunity to modify and amend it in that 65-day period. So don't think that when we get this draft that it's the end all to be all. That is the whole point of that 65-day period. It is to give the opportunity for everybody to have ample time to review the document.
To that, we will have a public hearing, and the council could have one if they so desire.
Right, they may, yes.
I saw your email, but I didn't have time to open it. When I went back to open it, it was gone. So could you resend me that email with the POC?
I did.
Did you?
I did,
haven't gotten
like
it.
within minutes of
Yeah, I
reading
did.
it.
I didn't get it. Again, I don't know.
Check your spam folder.
It just.
Yeah, check your spam because I sent it again.
Did you? Because I checked. I had checked the trash. The spam. I mean, I
Your
went
Enfield
crazy.
address or your
no,
personal?
No, my personal.
Are you sending it? See, what's happening here, I've noticed myself, I've been doing some forwarding, right? Been asked, you're not the only one, Mr. Lambert, that's Commissioner Lambert, that's another commissioner also. Half of the commissioners here are not using Enfield email address. And I got to be quite honest with you, for FOIA reasons, you should be. I know some of you are using your personal, but I'm being honest with you. You're leaving yourselves FOIAble open to your personal emails if we keep sending you stuff to your personal emails. You need to really be using your Enfield.org for P&Z stuff. If you're having problems accessing that, come on down here. We'll get the IT staff to find out what the problem is. Because everything should be done because you're a public official. You really shouldn't be getting stuff, and you're not the only one. You shouldn't be getting stuff, unless you and, like, I'm looking at Nick. Nick and I are just shooting the bull about something, not making any decisions, just talking. That's fine. But when we're doing documents sent from staff and stuff, it's going to your Enfield.org, and you got to get that working. If it's not working, we need to get it working.
Okay.
Okay?
Couldn't get on tonight again.
No, we have a problem in this room. Can you get on from home?
I'll try.
No.
All right, then the devices are not working.
Okay. That's information that is helpful for us to solve
I
it.
think what we really need to do is we need to get Larry or the other person here. The next P&Z meeting is 6 o'clock. People bring their devices in. Let's find out why people can't get in. I think that's a request we're going to have to make to Paul Russell.
So you want to have people come in at 6 o'clock on the 12th?
Yeah, we're going to have to come in probably 6:30 for the POCD anyways. So let's make it 6. Bring your devices in. And everybody's going to try to get on in this room. And then we're going to need an IT person, staff here to fix the problem why people can't get in. And that's an official request from the chairman to Paul Russell. Paul's our IT director.
Okay. Yeah, I'll talk to him.
Okay, thank you, Lori.
So just so I'm clear, you want to have the meeting at 6
Yep,
for IT?
Yep.
And then at 6:30 for POCD?
yep. Does that sound agreeable, everybody, on January 12th? Does that sound agreeable for everybody? And bring your devices.
And I just want to let you know that I did get an email from Ginny saying that she left her meeting and was going to go home and finish watching the meeting from there. So I think it was just a few minutes ago, so I think she figured it wasn't worth bothering.
Yeah, she had another conflict, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for passing that on. Okay, we do have one other thing to bring up here, opportunities and unresolved issues, only again because I think we owe it to other town staff and to the people of the town that we understand where we are with this, because it's still an issue in some people's minds. So Lori or Matt, could you give us an update on where we are with Jimmy's Pub and Pizza Palace?
I could probably do that as well, and I have met with the owner and the owners and, well, actually, the owner of Jimmy's Pub, not the owner of the property, and gave him an application. They are working out, I don't know whether it's insurance or plans or rentals or whatever, but they're working out trying to utilize property across the kitty corner across the street within 500 feet to accommodate the vehicles for parking should they have live music events. Now, they will have to come back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to have those live events. It's a change of the liquor permit, so that would be part of the application. So I don't know why they haven't come back in. I have not seen them in quite a few weeks at this point.
As far as we know at this point, as far as town staff, not just you, but other town staff members, they have ceased their live entertainment at this point. They've gone back to karaoke. Yep.
Have karaoke, and there's a question whether they could have DJ, but at this point, they pretty much just have karaoke.
Okay.
And there are parking passes on the neighboring roads now for the residents there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that update. Just want to make sure everybody officially got that update.
Can I ask a question to Lori?
Sure, absolutely.
Lori, I have a question, and I've been watching this happening for however long it's been going on. I know the council did something, and people came here and spoke to us. What I don't understand, if they were truly in violation of the liquor permit or town ordinance, why wasn't there any kind of administrative order or action to stop? How come it's gotten this far and nobody's done anything? I mean, that's all. Wouldn't there just be?
We have sent a notice of violation. And
I
we are
mean, from
getting
here,
to the point now-
from the zoning officer has sent the violation,
Yes,
and state liquor.
state liquor has.
State liquor is state liquor.
Yeah, but
You'll
I
have
mean,
to
they're
ask
tough.
them.
They're
No,
tough.
state liquor is state liquor.
No, but if there's a violation of a liquor permit and somebody's violating it, they would be down here so fast your head would spin, based
One
on
would
past
think.
experiences.
One would think they have been notified.
So
they-
there is
they are fully
so
aware
my
of the
question is
situation.
there. So I guess the answer is yes. There is administrative actions being taken.
Yes.
That's the part I never heard that yet. So okay, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if they're
My
if they're in
apologies for not saying
violation.
that.
Yeah, if they're in violation, then they should be notified.
Oh, they absolutely were.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So stay tuned, everyone. All right. Anything else? Opportunities unresolved? Any receipt of applications you want to mention at all, or?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple things on receipt. Just these two items that are listed on the agenda, those were both actually withdrawn in the last couple of days or so. The first didn't comply with one of the requirements. She didn't want to go for a variance, so she withdrew. And then the second actually didn't require a special permit based on the wording of the regulation, which can be interpreted different ways. So those two are withdrawn. In terms of, we did get some new applications, though, in 78 Park Avenue, the special permit came in. So we'll hear that in January. That's the accessory, the two-family up there. And then 29 Moody, we received an application that'll go to wetlands first. That's another one of the kind of multi-tenant spec contractor, similar to what you have up there now. 9 Moody, that whole kind of area, that kind of thing. So those two did come in, and we'll probably take care of those in January. That's it, though.
And Keynes.
Keynes was, it's been here for a while. They were supposed to go to public hearing on the 22nd, actually, and God was shining on us, and she forgot to do her public hearing sign, so she couldn't go forward on the 22nd. So it's one of the reasons we were able to get rid of the 22nd. So that'll go in January.
Which one was that? I'm sorry.
Keynes.
Raising
Keynes Chicken.
Cane's, the other chicken place number 4.
Yeah.
Five or.
No, it's coming. Any questions on applications? Seeing none? First of all, before we take, first of all, if I don't see everyone, I want to wish everyone happy holidays, a safe new year. Staff, too, if I don't see everyone. I see Lori and Matt all the time, but I wish everyone happy, safe, and holiday, and please be safe, and we will see everybody in January. And again, thank you so much for the past year. We've done a lot of work, and we've come a long way, and we have a lot more work to do in the upcoming year, and I really look forward to serving with you the next coming year. So again, thank you. And
Chair is not throwing a big Christmas party this year.
I don't know the protocol. No one told me. We are.
Now you do.
I am gonna stop somewhere on the way out from here. So if you would like to join me, please, please join me.
That's the protocol. You're supposed to go out after the last meeting of the year.
And he buys, right?
Yeah.
Does the chair buy? Is that how that works?
Chair buys.
I don't know about that.
I'll buy one round. All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the
Motion made by
adjourn.
Commissioner DeGray, seconded by Secretary Petronella to adjourn at 9:35. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.